Good evening. I call to order the Lake Havasu City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. I'm sorry that we're a little bit late, but there was a car accident out front, so it delayed folks getting in here. So we wanted to give it a little extra time for folks to get in here. We'll now have a moment of silence before we start the meeting, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you please stand. Thank you. And we'll now do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 4 on our agenda is the roll call. Ms. Williams, if you please call the roll.
Council members Nancy Campbell.
Here.
Michelle Lynn.
Here.
Jenny Koch. Jim Dolan. Here. David Lane.
Here.
Vice Mayor Cameron Moses.
Here.
Mayor Kal Sheehy.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you in the audience hear us all right? All right. Steve in the control room, can you try and turn up the volume? All right. Thank you. All right. Item 5 is our consent agenda. Would any of the council members like to remove any of the items for separate discussion?
Mayor, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Moses, a second from Council Member Lane. We are ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item 6 is correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements, and the city manager report. Item 6.1 is to announce the vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. Ms. Williams?
Mayor and City Council, there are several vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The following is the listing of those vacancies. Board of Adjustment, 1 regular member and 1 alternate member. Anyone interested can pick up a packet at City Hall, and they are also available on the city's website at www.lhcaz.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.2 is our city manager's report. Good evening, Mr. Knudsen.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Lots to discuss tonight. Just 1 second here. Give me 1 moment for technical difficulties as we get this on the screen. There we go. And then I know Steve's in the control room working on a few things this evening. Should I use Kelly's? The light's not coming on. All right. Appreciate everyone's patience, and thank you for Kelly Williams for assisting. I'll read a new click. Okay. To the first slide. We spent the last week proudly serving and honoring our veterans, recognizing their service and the sacrifices they and their families have made through special events and heartfelt displays. We came together as a community to show our appreciation and support for those who have given so much for our nation. Last week, we recognized 109 Lake Havasu City employees and volunteers, including their family members, who have served in the United States Armed Forces. The mayor proclaimed November 7th, 2024 as Employee and Volunteer Appreciation Day in honor of our veterans. Of course, over the weekend, we honored our veterans with the lighting of the London Bridge green for Operation Greenlight, joining other cities and towns nationwide to highlight the service of veterans and their families. And Mayor, on Veterans Day, you, Vice Mayor Cameron Moses, and Councilmembers Nancy Campbell, Jim Dolan, David Lane, along with the Havasu Youth Advisory Council, attended the Veterans Parade and the dedication at the VFW for their VFW Veterans Memorial Wall. And we were proudly joined with the ceremony with Councilmember-elect David Diaz. At the Coffee with the Mayor and City Manager on November 1st, you, Mayor, proclaimed Extra Mile Heroes Day in honor of Christine Watson Butenmeyer, President and CEO of the Clothes Closet. Christine's dedication through Havasu Hope and the Clothes Closet supports those in need, strengthening our community and inspiring all of us to give back. Mayor's office continues to diligently recognize many organizations and their great work throughout the community. On November 2nd, the Havasu Youth Community Health Foundation's Dementia Connection held its 10th annual Moving for Memory Walk at the London Bridge Beach, where you, Mayor, kicked off the event with a proclamation to raise awareness and support those affected by dementia and Alzheimer's. Mayor, on November 5th, proclaimed Havasu Stitchers Day, Quilts of Gratefulness. The Havasu Stitchers crafted quilts for the Smokin' Hot Quilts project to bring warmth to local firefighters. They made enough quilts to cover every firefighter's bed at all 6 city firefighter stations, just in time for the cold weather. Mayor Sheehy, Fire Chief, Pete Palafis, and crew joined the group as they delivered the quilts. So thank you, Havasu Stitchers, for your generosity. Mayor Sheehy, you proclaimed November 8th and 9th, 2024, as the annual Chamber Building Industry Alliance Home Show and Chamber Foundation Food Truck Festival. This collaboration supports local businesses, boosts job opportunities, and funds career exploration internship programs for our high school students. And it was a great day at the Sarah Park Trailhead for the Rockette Rock Snake dedication. We've named the snake Rockette. It was good. It's been created through a partnership between the Parks and Recreation Department and Lake Havasu Rocks Group. It came to life with local artists and contributions, as each painted their own rock and then put it together to create the rock snake. And over time, the Rockette will grow as a symbol of our city's creativity. And the next slide. I'll bring forward Chief Palafis, who has an update on our transport services, as well as the new ambulances that were in the parking lot.
Thank you, City Manager, Honorable Mayor, Council. Just wanted to give you a 5-month update on our ambulance transport program that's been going really well with our partnership with River Medical. We started our transport service June 11th, and thank you. CON 159 was approved. To this date, as of yesterday, we have transported, and this is transports, not calls, 1,266 patients to the hospital, with an average of about 8.3 a day. Little statistics, 93% of them were residents. So 7% were non-residents or visitors based on the data we have from our billing company. And then we've seen a significant reduction in any types of delays with transports throughout the city. This little statistics, 2023 we had 64, 2024 48, and now we've just seen about 12. So it's a great program. Really appreciate all the support. So really, this is for the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief Palafis, for all you've done. That's really been a seamless transition into the transport service for Lake Havasu City Fire, and it's our residents that are seeing the rewards of that in response times and otherwise. So thanks again, Chief. Okay. With the next slide, I'd like to also recognize our Lake Havasu City Information Technology Division. Lake Havasu City was named a 2024 Digital City Survey winner by the Center for Digital Government. We were named number 7 in the country for cities and towns under 75,000 population. That recognition is earned because of our cybersecurity efforts and implementing technologies that increase efficiencies, saving dollars, and improve services for our citizens. Thank you to our IT staff, led by Administrative Service Director Jill Olson, Jonathan Baskett, our Chief Information Officer, and the IT team for your due diligence, hard work. This is a huge win, and national recognition is a big deal. So thank you. Appreciate you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I'm also excited to announce that Lake Havasu City won an OSHA's Beat the Heat photo contest, highlighting workplace heat safety through winning photos that showcase effective strategies for working in hot environments. Pictured here is one of our mechanics for the city. It's Ed Chabot, and he's in vehicle maintenance, and he is displaying, showing a mechanic that's working on a vehicle on a very hot day in the summer months and taking the necessary precautions to stay safe. It's that time of the year again. Everybody, of course, is cordially invited to attend the 21st annual free community dinner. It'll take place on Friday, December 13th, and that'll take place, of course, at the community center. The team is offering two different serving times again. We have the early bird serving at 4 p.m. and a second serving at 6 p.m. The dinner, hosted by the community for the community, provides a relaxed atmosphere to share a traditional holiday feast with the family, friends, neighbors, and anyone who just wants a dose of great community spirit. Thank you to the numerous volunteers, donors, and local business sponsors. This event continues to grow year after year, and one of my favorite things to do each and every year. The turkeys, coordinated by Councilmember David Lane, were donated through Albertsons, and they were donated by the London Bridge Rotary Club, the Lake Havasu Rotary Club, Sunrise Rotary Club, Daybreakers Lions Club, and Kiwanis of Lake Havasu. And they are cooked by Tahara Food Service and prepared by Master Chef Christopher Galaga and Wave Culinary and Hospitality students. I am hearing Santa's going to make a special appearance at both of the servings. There'll be toys for the girls and boys, sponsored by the River Riders Motorcycle Club. Have a Pick, sponsored by Anderson Auto Group, is on site for both servings to capture your memories. If you're interested in helping with the volunteer in preparation for this event, please jump on our website. And we're hoping everybody can register by December 1st. If you have questions or want to know more about the event, please contact the mayor's office at 453-4142. I want to invite everybody to join the Parks and Recreation Department on Sunday, November 17th for our new movie in the Park series. Every Sunday from now through December 1st, we'll have a classic movie, musical, will be shown at the London Bridge Beach. Showtime start at 5:30 p.m. The event is completely free. Thanks to the generosity of our sponsors. This week's showing of Mary Poppins is made possible free to the community by Concord General Contracting. So thank you for the sponsorship. And with that, despite the technical flaws, that concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
Are we going to show the PSA?
We don't have the technical.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Sorry.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Mr. Knut.
Okay. Steve says, okay, so we have a PSA that was a public service announcement, a video. We had 2 high school students that contacted the mayor's office and wanted to help and assist with providing information to the public regarding safety for e-bikes. So if we can, let's play that. Special thanks to sorry, I do want to get the names right. Xavier Smith and Ethan Durner were the 2 young men that helped with this video. So thank you.
Hey Havasu, this video is all about learning the rules of the road for e-bikes and other electronic riding devices, so you can stay safe and keep everyone else on the road safe too. Lately, e-bikes and eco-friendly devices have blown up in popularity, and cities like ours are trying to figure out how to handle it all.
First off, always wear a helmet. It's a must. Make sure it fits right and feels comfortable.
Before you ride, give your e-bike or device a quick check. Look for damage, check the seat height, handlebars, tire wear, and air pressure. And don't forget to secure your stuff so it doesn't fall off or mess with the operation of your bike.
Be sure to wear closed-toe shoes and bright or reflective clothes.
You need to familiarize yourself with your bike. Learn where all the controls are for braking and speeding up, and set everything up the way that works best for you.
Keep a safe distance from pedestrians, cars, and other riders. If you're passing someone, slow down, let them know, and pass carefully.
Stay off your phone unless you've got a hands-free setup, and don't carry anything that'll stop you from using the brakes or steering properly.
Remember, e-bikes have to follow traffic rules just like cars and bikes.
Use bike lanes when you can, always ride on the right side, and go with the flow of traffic.
Stop at stop signs and lights, and when you're at intersections, be extra careful. Make sure that the drivers see you.
Always give the right-of-way to pedestrians at crosswalks, and never ride under the influence of drugs or alcohol.
When you park your e-bike, don't block sidewalks or store entrances. Use bike racks or designated parking spots.
If everyone rides responsibly, riding around Lake Havasu can be fun and safe. Let's keep our city a great place to enjoy the outdoors.
Again, thank you to Ethan and Xavier for helping out with that video. They did a wonderful job. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Knudsen. And one of the stars of the video is actually here. If you would like to stand up and say hello. Yeah, thank you for being here. And thank you for reaching out to my office last spring. So, all right, I think we're going to get on with our meeting in good fashion going forward. So we'll start with our public hearings. During each of our public hearings, there'll be an opportunity for citizens to address the city council on the items within that public hearing. We'll have discussion. We'll open the public hearing, get feedback from citizens that want to share their feedback on that item, and then the council will deliberate on whatever the item may be. We ask when you do that, there'll be light indicator boxes on each of the screens for your time, and then also just address the city council directly. So you'll be at the podium here, state your name for the record, and then you will direct your comments to the city council. During that time, the city council will have the opportunity to have a two-way conversation so we can ask questions, engage, or ask further information about whatever topic that you may have brought to the conversation, and be able to move forward. At the end of the meeting, there will be an opportunity for citizens to address the council at call to the public. We won't be able to have a two-way conversations there, but you'll be able to share whatever feedback or thoughts you might have on your mind. We'll be able to listen intently. I'll go back over all of those things when we get to the end of the meeting. But we'll start with item 7.1, which is discussion and action for a series number 10 beer and wine store liquor license for motor and boat food and fuel at 2890 Jamaica Boulevard South. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, Manmeet Singh has applied for a Series 10 beer and wine store liquor license for motor and boat food and fuel located at 2890 Jamaica Boulevard South. All posting requirements have been met, all fees have been paid, and no objections were received. The location is properly zoned for a Series 10 liquor license. Happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also here to answer any questions from the City Council.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members of the council for Ms. Williams or the applicant? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor, motion.
Councilmember Lane?
I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor Licensing Control approve a Series number 10 beer and wine store liquor license for motor and boat food and fuel at 2890 Jamaica Boulevard South.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane, a second from Vice Mayor Moses. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Next item is item 7.2 is a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Arizona Rebel Republic at 230 Swanson Avenue. Ms. Williams?
Mayor and City Council, Jeffrey Miller has applied for a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Arizona Rebel Republic located at 230 Swanson Avenue. All posting requirements have been met, all fees have been paid, and no objections were received. The location is properly zoned for a Series 12 restaurant liquor license. Happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also here to answer any questions from the council.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members of council for Ms. Williams or the applicant? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item? We'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor,
Councilmember Dolan,
motion.
please.
I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control approve a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Arizona Rebel Republic, 230 Swanson Avenue.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Dolan. We have a second from Vice Mayor Moses. Is there any additional discussion? We're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item 7.3, which is resolution number 24-3792, establishing the Downtown Association Pilot Parking Program. Ms. Gary.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item was approached by the Downtown Association requesting assistance to address certain parking concerns. The city met with representatives from the association as well as attended association meetings where parking issues were discussed. The association prepared a plan to address its parking concerns and is asking the city's assistance. The program would be a pilot program for 1 year to determine the effectiveness of the measures. Specifically, the plan includes creating up to 10 two-hour parking spaces on McCulloch Boulevard between Acoma Boulevard and Mulberry Avenue. It also includes permitting specific signage, which is attached as Exhibit A to the resolution in the area, which during that time would suspend the applicable provisions of the city code for the duration of the pilot program. The Parking and Common Master Plan is attached, showing the boundaries of the proposed pilot program area. The association is here to present for the council.
Thank you, Ms. Gary. And we have Erica McCorkle, the president of the Downtown Association, to give a presentation. I believe Ms. Williams is going to move your presentation forward. So just ask her for next slide or something to indicate to move it. But welcome and thank you for being here.
Hello, my name's Erica. I'm the president of the Downtown Association. I am also third generation owner of Havasu Hardware, family owned since 1964.
Yeah, Steve, can you check the microphones in the back? And is the green light on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It seems like they're all a little bit different, but he's checking on it right now.
My family's owned Havasu Hardware since 1979, and I grew up in the downtown. I watched the street grow to what it is today. So there should be first slide, or next slide, sorry. There we go. Parking in the downtown has been a conversation for the past couple of years. Last April, the association and the city met and discussed the potential options. The Downtown Association goal is to enhance existing parking spaces, short-term parking for more turnover. And from our perspective, we need to start so we can learn what options and or solutions work best. Start the process of order, giving visitors and customer guidance. Next slide, please. So this is for the 2-hour parking component. The Downtown Association have divided the downtown into 6 zones. We selected Zone 1 and Zone 5 for the 2-hour parking pilot program. 10 signs will be for the 2-hour parking signs. Zone 1 will have 6 and Zone 5 will have 4 that are highlighted on the map up there. One of our greatest struggles are the high demand parallel parking spots. Next slide. This is the parking and common component. What is shown are interested businesses who would like to participate. Conditions for the businesses to receive parking signs. Sign purchase at the property owner's expense. Parking lot has to be improved and well maintained, and it's 1/3 of the parking spaces can have signs. Next slide. I want to thank council for considering this pilot program. We are here as a collection of businesses trying to navigate the future of our gaining success. My closing thought when I look at this picture and think back when I was a kid, I never thought we would have a parking problem. We could only wish for a parking problem. We're trying to keep order for all of our customers and visitors so that we can keep coming back. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, Erica. Are there any questions for Erica initially or for Ms. Gary? All right, so if you don't want to go too far, because there might be some questions as we go forward. Thank you. Yeah, so as one of the reasons that we're here is this is really how government's supposed to work. The users and the property owners and business owners in this area have come to the city to see how we can address some of these concerns. And the reason that the city's involved is that Mr. McCulloch created parking in common, and which was really fantastic at the time when he initially was developing his city. But what that allowed for is the people that were building businesses or buildings that they would have shared parking. So if you're a restaurant, our code requires a certain number of restaurants based on square footage or the number of seats, or if you're a barber shop, or if you're in an insurance shop, or whatever it is, there's different parking requirements. You can forego those if everyone collectively was able to share the parking spaces that were available between all of those businesses, which would work really fantastic when all of the businesses are developed and there's parking lots behind all of them. But that's not the case in our downtown right now. And there's times when you go in that area and you come down one row of places to park, and then you make the turn, and now they're facing the wrong direction. So you couldn't even park there if you wanted to, because it's not the same direction in which your car is. So I applaud the association for coming forward. We've had several meetings. We met with over 100 of the business and or property owners at Nomadic and heard concerns. These are just a couple of the areas that we're able to address in the pilot program. The area as proposed this evening has different zones, and the zones are based on the different businesses in the area and what their needs are. So there is obviously different concerns on the lower part of the street than there are on the upper part of the street. And so we're trying to figure all of these different things out. But in order to suspend the parking in common portion of this, that's where we come in. So that's where we're getting involved to do this pilot program to allow for signage to be erected for this period. The 2-hour parking was asked for as a component of that. It's my understanding that the two zones that you're proposing, the 2-hour parking spots, they've been canvassed, and that's why they've decided to move forward. And so, trying to put all these pieces together, we can evaluate throughout the period. Then council would have to make a future decision after this pilot program is over, or based on the feedback that the association receives on what next steps might be. Might find that it didn't work at all, might find that it created more problems, might find that it was a good start, might find that it solved the problem. So, there's lots of different avenues on here, but that gives just a little bit of the historic piece since we've gotten involved and why we're even involved in the first place. Again, it was the Downtown Association coming forward to us to look for that. So with some of that background, I'll open up to my colleagues on the council for any comments, questions, or thoughts.
I have a question.
Yeah, Councilman Dolan.
My biggest concern, I like the idea of the pilot program. My biggest concern is enforcement. And as a parent, you don't make rules unless you're going to enforce them, because then, you can't park there. Well, then what are they going to do? People park there. I don't believe that our police needs to be showing up and tagging cars and putting chalk marks on them. And with all the other issues we have in the city that we need our police to be doing, I don't feel our police should be doing that. That then leads us to, does that mean we're going to be hiring traffic enforcement officers? That's another thing I don't think our city needs. So I guess my biggest concern is the enforcement side of it. Is how would we plan on going out and enforcing this? I guess that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, no, thank you for.
Maybe we can address what happens when someone looks at their watch. That's been there 2 hours, and then they call. Who do they call? What do they do? How does that process play out?
So in the resolution in front of us, as proposed in the draft form, is the enforcement would be enforced by the current city code, which is chapter 10.12. As far as that piece of the police department would be called. But as you said, they would come out and they would say, here's this vehicle that's been reported that they've been here longer than 2 hours, but the clock would start, as I understand it, when that police officer arrives. Mr. Knutson, I don't know if you have some additional information or background on that.
Mayor Sheehy, Councilmember Dolan, that's exactly right. We don't have traffic enforcement to this extent in terms of monitoring timed parking, that expertise or staff within the department. So largely this would go unenforced. It certainly would not be proactive if the council chose to go in this direction. If there was a vehicle that was parked longer than the 2 hour time limit, if that's the direction the council goes, there would be a phone call to PD. PD would respond. And at that point, the clock would start, and then the officer would then be responsible for monitoring the next 2 hours to see if that vehicle at that point would be in violation.
Any other questions or Councilmember Lane?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have some comments. First off, Erica, thank you She first came to me 5 years ago, a long time ago, to talk about this issue with parking in common, and especially on the busy weekends when there's an event going on and her not being able to have any parking spaces for her customers. And so we talked about it. It was like, well, what we need to do is have you guys come up with some sort of a solution. And so she stepped up, took over the downtown association. That's exactly what's happened here. This isn't a pilot program where the city is going to the business owner saying, hey, look what we did. We fixed your problem. We don't have the answers. We're not the ones that are using these parking lots day in and day out. These business owners are, and they're the ones that are coming to us saying, look, we have an idea. We think this is the way it would work best. Can we do a pilot program and try to work the kinks out? And I agree with Mr. Dolan. It could be an issue when it comes to the enforcement, but that's why it's a pilot program, so that we can work those kinks out. And the association can come back to us in a year and say, okay, this worked, that didn't work. Let's try another route if we need to, or let's keep this in place. And this is solely on the business owners down there that are coming to us with a solution. And I just have to say kudos to you guys for doing it that way, and not coming to us asking us for a solution, but coming to us saying, please help us. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Campbell?
Mayor, I had a business down there, and it was the Cigar Bar, so I understand the hospitality portion of owning a bar on McCulloch. First and foremost, I do like the signage portion that allows downtown customer parking only. I think that's very, very important, because as the park gets built out and other items, I bought one of the bigger pieces of property down there so that I would have parking, and I have to maintain that parking. So at the end of the day, it would be only fair that as the city grows out and grows up, or whatever it does, that I can still secure some parking spots that I bought in the first place through my checkbook to buy a piece of property that made sense to me. There are a lot of businesses down there that have horrible parking, and I don't really feel that comfortable trying to fix everybody's problem. I can't. Sometimes if you chose to buy a cheaper piece of property and you knew you didn't have parking, and then you're coming to the city saying, how are you going to fix my problem? That's really not our problem. So I'm for the actual signage of customer parking, downtown customer parking only. My other side on the bar side is I don't want to do anything that discourages somebody to drive drunk. And so if somebody goes down to the bar and they park, but they're in the 2-hour time lane, police are showing up, tagging their car, they're making the decision to get in that vehicle and drive potentially intoxicated. Or better yet, what if that happens? I mean, I wish we were all better humans and everybody knew how to control their drinking, but that's not the case. So the 10 parking spots that are under 2-hour, one, I agree with Councilmember Dolan. Enforcing that is going to be difficult. Are you tagging the window, coming back 2 hours later? Then you're going into the bar to find the person. I mean, I think we have so many other things we need to do. As for the signage in the back area, I believe that's kind of a courtesy thing. And if you have maybe somebody that's in an apartment complex across the street, parking in your parking every single day, I'm sure there's a way we can enforce that better. So I like what you've done and presented to us. I just don't like the 2-hour portion parking. That's all. I do love the signage portion, and you should get as many as you'd like.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Just real quick, Councilmember Lynn, but as we're having this discussion for the council members to consider, when it comes to the 2-hour parking, there's been discussion about that for nearly 50 years on the street, and it always comes to a blockade where then we don't move forward. So one of the reasons I support the 2-hour parking component is one, they've asked for it, and that we can cross that off the list so we can go beyond that hurdle that's always stopped us in the past to go on, but possibly propose language that it would be a 2-hour parking just Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, which then wouldn't take into the large bar crowd, if you will, on the weekend hours and those types of things, or after hours. So just to think about as we're continuing with this conversation. Councilmember Lynn?
Mr. Mayor, could somebody tell me in Zone 1 and Zone 5 exactly how many parking spots are in that area? Anybody know?
Yeah, Erica, would you happen to have that information?
I had homework today, and it was not a very good day at work. So I had my mom and dad working today with me, and I forgot to count them. So yes, I was going to count them, and it was for Zone 1. So I don't know how many, but it is only on the one side of the street. So it's from Quirio down to Acoma, so Red Onion to the hair salon down there, that place. So, and I can count that and send you guys that number tomorrow. Okay.
And then I also agree. The parking and common signage, that to me, I think that's most appropriate for the businesses down there. The 2-hour parking, I do have some concerns on that enforcement, and I really would like to ask our chief, maybe if he can come up and maybe explain how he would look at how they would enforce that.
Good evening, Councilmember Lynn, Council. I would say the enforcement is going to be the difficult part. I would say from historical purposes, having signs, typically most law-abiding citizens want to obey the law. So having some type of signage that says this is the recommendation, this is for customer parking, we hope that that would accomplish part of the goal, right? The enforcement piece is something that we still need to really work out and how that's going to fit. But I think the pilot program will give us that opportunity to really, kind of dive into some different components of that. So, but that is, as everybody's already addressed, is going to be the difficult piece.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, so there's another component to this that didn't need to be in the code, but another thing that we determined when we were meeting with the Downtown Association was special events. So especially the large special events when they're vendor-based events, whether that's at the Downtown Catalyst Project or if it's on McCulloch itself, the vendors would come in first thing in the morning. Obviously, they're the first ones there. They set up all of their things, and then they take the primary front parking spots. So before customers even can get there, all of the spots are gone already. And so through the special events process, we will be addressing that and have ancillary off-site parking. So they come in, they can set up their vendor section, and then they would be relocated to that ancillary spot. So that's already went into effect with any new applications from the date that we had those conversations, which was midsummer or so. But that was another element to help with some of these parking challenges that the Downtown Association has. Councilmember Lynn?
May I have one other question? And I don't even know how to approach this, but a few months back, we were talking about the vending trucks and their times that they were going to be down there. I really think this is going to even confuse it even more on where they're going to be able to park, what that time limit looks like. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I believe you're referring to the food truck ordinance that we did. Yes. Yeah, so the food truck ordinance clearly outlines where food trucks can go and what they can do and what they can't do. This outlines what the additional parking is. So the only area that they would parallel in any respect would be the 2-hour parking component of this, but that would not be in the areas in which the food trucks can park and the size of the rigs and those types of things that are addressed in that other ordinance.
There are different zones.
Correct, yes. Yeah, Vice Mayor Moses?
Can you go back 2 slides, Kelly? Please. Erica, I had a question. So this 4 and this 6 right here, I'm understanding, so this is the pilot parking program for 2-hour parking. Am I to understand that there's going to be 6 2-hour parking signs for 6 spaces along the stretch of McCulloch right there, and then 4 along the Zone 5 area?
Correct.
So there's 10 total spaces is what we're looking for.
For the pilot program, yes.
I wanted to point that because you had that question, right, Michelle? I just want to make sure that's how I'm understanding it, and that's okay.
Yeah, that we try to split it up where we thought needed to be.
Yeah. And you talk to the business owners in those zones, and they're signing on, right?
Correct.
Right. If I can make a couple of comments, I just want to commend the association for coming together and getting this tough work done. I want to commend Erica for bringing together so many different ideas and so many different points of view. Your leadership in this has been really strong, and I really appreciate your work on it. I had some of the same concerns as you, Jim, as far as enforcement goes. And to be honest, during this pilot program, I'm really happy that we're not going to be proactive and going out there with meter maids and marking up cars and making sure, timing people. We're going to leave it up to the business owners. We're going to leave it up to the people down there who know their area, know what cars have been there. And then that way, because I doubt they're wanting to chase away people. They're not wanting to chase away any cars that are down there partaking in the economy, they're just going to chase away bad actors. We're giving them a tool to be able to chase away the guy who drives down his Ford Bronco and puts a for sale sign in the window and goes home. So to give them this tool to get rid of a bad actor that's just sitting in the front of their business, I would be a little upset too, and I could see that. And I think this is a common sense approach, and like you said, Mayor, this is a pilot program. And as the police chief said, we're going to see what works, and we're going to see our path forward after this, and if we like it or not. And so I'm for this and giving you guys the tools you need to address some of the parking concerns down there. So great work.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Are there any additional questions or comments before we open the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Just as someone who has to park down there all the time as a citizen here, I like this idea because I kind of know where things are going to be at. It's a very little confusing back there and what's going on. So I like this idea. The other thing to keep in mind, having done a lot of pilot programs in my career, it's not going to be perfect. That's why you do a pilot program. You kind of see where the problems are going to be. Then you can re-meet in the year and start resolving those issues. But the fact that it came from the people who are down there every day trying to get their business going, I think it's a great idea. And I appreciate you guys considering it tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. John Parrott. I live at 2490 Lehman Drive. I want to back up what the chief said. Many, many years ago, I worked with the Chamber of Commerce here, and I had a chance to travel the state and meet with lots of other chambers and downtown associations. And this problem was discussed, 30 years ago by those people, the same way we've been discussing it. And the consensus among those experts that I heard was that 80% of the people want to obey the law. And so if 80% of the 10 works, then I'd say we've really accomplished a lot. I also think that having that sign may be something where the business owner who's parking in front of their store, who really shouldn't be doing that if they're a good business person, may be inclined to move to the back. So I think this is a good sample, a good pilot, and I'm sure that if crisis erupts, the council can invoke emergency powers and cancel it. So thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the City Council on this item?
Good evening. I'm Steve Kochman. I just have one quick question. How are we going to measure the metrics of success or failure?
Yeah, great question. So we'll take the feedback from the Downtown Association, feedback that we receive as far as the number of folks that the police department has to interact with on any of the enforcement side, and then the feedback that we get through the City Council, social media, all of the pieces will come together, and we'll be able to weigh in and see if it's working. But the key component will be the Downtown Association will take the lead on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the City Council on this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to Council for discussion or a possible motion. Yeah, Councilmember Dolan?
Maybe the newspaper can leave out the part about us not enforcing it. Maybe just be like, they're going to act swiftly and tow your cars. Make it sound a little aggressive, but just let's keep that between us and here that about the enforcement issues. So, yeah.
If I may, if one of the council members is considering a motion, if we just take into account the Monday through Friday 8 to 5 on the 2-hour parking, if that's a fair compromise for the group. So, yeah, and Councilmember Dolan, did you have?
I was going to make a motion.
Please.
I move to adopt resolution number 24-3792, establishing the Downtown Association pilot parking program with a Monday through Friday 8 to 5, as Mayor Sheehy has just stated.
Second.
Legit, Kelly.
Would you like that in the actual resolution or just in your motion and direction?
I think the resolution would be best. That way we have history for it. So in the resolution.
Yes.
Got it.
Do we have a second to that, Councilmember Lane? Oh, yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, so we have a motion from Councilmember Dolan, a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any additional discussion?
Is that what the Downtown Association proposed?
So the change is, so it's everything that they proposed with the time of Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Can I hear from them if they're okay with it?
Sure.
Yes, we're good with that.
All right, any additional discussion?
Just clarifying, that is for the 2-hour parking only.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, we have a motion and we have a motion from Councilmember Dolan, a second from Councilmember Lane. We are ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Erica, for your leadership. All right, we'll move on to item 7.4, which is ordinance number 24-1349, amending Lake Havasu City Code Chapter 2.44, Police Department, to add sections 2.44.070, 2.44.080, 2.44090, and 2.44100 regarding police service assistants and citizens on patrol members. Chief Sterling.
Good evening again, Mayor, Council. I appreciate the opportunity tonight. This is going to correlate to our next item as well, but in this chapter, specifically chapter 2.44 of our city code, deals with the police department. And in that chapter, it allows me as the chief to authorize certain positions to do certain things. And so in this case, to help us increase efficiency and maximizing the resources available, there's 2 items that propose adding to this. One is the police service assistant positions and our citizens on patrol. The police service assistants is what you guys have heard us talk about as our interns. Okay, we're bringing on 2 interns. This is our first year that we budgeted for this, and our first one will be starting January 1st. And so with the interns coming on board, it's important that the goal of that position is for them to start doing different things related to police officer duties, but they're not in the sworn capacity of a police officer. So there's things that I can allow, and that is being able to help us enforce city code violations. And so doing things such as taking delayed theft reports, minor type of things that we don't necessarily need a police officer out there doing. They can utilize their time doing other proactive enforcement. So that's one area. And then in the Citizens on Patrol, those are our volunteers. And so our volunteers currently do duties such as writing citations for handicap parking violations, for instance. And so this just allows me to expand their duties to help us enforce different city code violations, all pertaining to standing or parking violations related to vehicles. And so that's important as we get into the next chapter or the next item, utilizing additional resources that I have under our umbrella to be able to help us with that. And so I'm asking tonight just for us to, you as council, to approve this amendment to the chapter, and I'm willing to answer any questions that you may have on this.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Could you expand upon why we would need a police service assistant, the gap on recruitment and that component of it?
Absolutely. How long do we have?
Yeah.
Ultimately, yeah, that's been a struggle for us. Most people know that you have to be 21 years of age before you can become a certified peace officer in the state of Arizona. And so we traditionally, for recruitment purposes, struggle with that 18 to 21 year age gap. We've been fortunate over the years to maybe have a part-time position or even a full-time position, maybe in our jail or another area of the department where an individual can come on board and at least get their foot in the door. But as we fill those positions, those aren't available. And so this is essentially a start for us, really focusing on our cadet program. Our cadets are youth between the ages of 14 and 21 that join our, used to be called the Police Explorer program, for those that remember that. It's now called the Cadet program. And so they're already learning police officers' job duties. And so this allows us to bring them in as an intern if they qualify, being in our program, to be a paid, looks on paper like an employee, and we can fill that gap from the age 18 to 21, and we can groom them and teach them and prepare them for their life as a police officer, and hopefully give them some, work on their skills leading up to the police academy and make them a better police officer in the future.
Thank you, Chief. I mean, you can imagine when you're 18 years old and you've done all of this work through the cadet program, and now you have nowhere to go for 3 years, you're going to find maybe other interests. And so this gives us that opportunity to take these well-trained individuals and show them a career pathway with our department. So
absolutely, yes,
it's genius. And thank you for bringing that forward. Are there questions or comments from members of the council for the Chief? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I just have one question. So these recruits, will these basically be our cadets, or will you be looking at other candidates for this positions?
As far for the intern, the police service assistants, we have 2 currently in the budget. And so our ultimate plan is we have 2 in the making right now. One to start January 1st is the goal, and the other one in February. And then ultimately going into the next budget, if that's, we ask for additional positions, if we have people that are still interested in the program, we currently have the caveat that you have to be a cadet for at least 6 months. So that's part of that. Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Lynn. Any other questions or comments? Vice Mayor Moses?
Yeah. What type of training will you offer these cadets before they go out issuing citations?
Yeah, there's going to be a whole field training program, just like we do for it's very similar to our Citizens on Patrol. They go through a lot. They went through 10 weeks of different courses and instruction before we allowed them to go out. And then they had to go out with another police officer to be able to learn how to do things out in the public. And so same type of thing. We're going to be taking them under our wing. They're going to have somebody assigned. They're going to be assigned to somebody to do their training. And it's stair-stepping that program. So we're not just going to release them out into the wild, so to speak. We're going to teach them. We're going to hone in their skills and keep logs of their training progress.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions before we open the public hearing? Councilmember Lane?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I just wanted to commend the chief on coming up with this idea. Back in my day, it was it's exactly the path I wanted to follow, but my choice was to go in the military as a military policeman to get that background.
We want them too.
Oh, absolutely. We want to get those too. But this way here, you're getting some of our homegrown folks, and they stay right here. And the military isn't for everybody. And so being able to keep those homegrown kids that you've already started working with and to have that gap space for them, it's ingenious, and it's a great way to keep those kids here. So thank you for doing this. I think it's awesome.
All right. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the City Council on this item? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Or motion?
Vice Mayor Moses?
Yeah, I move to introduce the ordinance number 24-1349, amending the Lake Havasu City Code Chapter 2.44, Police Department, to add sections 2.44.070, 2.44.080, 2.44.090, and 2.44.100 regarding police service assistants and citizens on patrol members.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Moses, a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any additional discussion? We're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 7.5, discussion and action. Ordinance number 24-1350, amending Lake Havasu City Code Chapter 10.08, Rules of the Road, to update or establish regulations regarding bicycles, electric bicycles, human and non-human powered vehicles, personal assistive mobility devices, skateboards, scooters, and skates. Chief Sterling.
Good evening again. Thank you. So this is really a culmination of a lot of effort and research that's gone into this, debating on how we should proceed. This is a big conversation in our community regarding establishing regulations concerning not only just bicycles and electric bicycles, but really all types of devices. Over the years, our ordinance is outdated based on the new technologies that exist. And so we're running into issues. Even if we wanted to enforce our current ordinance, we couldn't because a certain device wouldn't fall into the definitions that were currently in there. And so we looked at different ways to be able to bring this forward for really conversation tonight. And I'm sure there's some people in the audience and council is going to have some great conversation leading up to what the direction is going to be. But this item in itself is related to a couple things. One, it's to update this, but it's based on some historical data. And one of those big things is the increase that we're seeing with traffic collisions involving bicycles and e-bikes, right? That's a big one. You know, since 2022, we've gone, we hit 12 that year, 7 the next year, and then 18 already this year. And so you can see it's completely increasing because there's more and more people owning those, and especially our youth, right? We see that time and time again. And so when we get through this, ultimately our code, what we're establishing here, there's 2 sections that we're addressing tonight. One is section 10.08.180, and that one already exists, dealing with skateboards, scooters, and skates. We felt it was appropriate to really leave that one alone for the most part, except for a couple things. One is amending the language in section B to allow these devices within city parks. And section D4 had previously had language prohibiting these from being on McCulloch Boulevard between North Tacoma and Smoke Tree. There was a reason for that in the day when that ordinance was passed, and we feel that's appropriate to remove that based on additional conversation we're going to have here in a moment. And then in addition to that, it's just more clarifying the lighting situation from dusk to dawn, that these type of devices still need to have the the lighting to make sure that they're safe and vehicles, the motoring public will see them. So that's that piece of the ordinance. That's pretty minor in changes. The next one's the big one. There was really a complete rewrite. And so 10.08.200. The main thing here is it removed this section only dealt with motorized skateboards. And you can see just with that one, dealing with that one component, it didn't fit what we have today in technology that's out there. And so we broke this down pretty simplistic. We include motorized skateboards, added bicycles, electric bicycles, human-powered and non-human-powered vehicles, and electric personal assisted mobility devices. The key was we added definitions to each of these in the ordinance. And so bring your attention to a couple of them. Number 2 had to deal with electric bicycles. There's different classes of electric bicycles, so we wanted to keep it as simple as possible. Simplistically, an electric bicycle is anything less than 750 watts. All right. When you get above 750 watts, it now becomes an electric vehicle. And so most people refer to those as like Sur-Ron, the Sur-Ron brands, those devices that look like a motorcycle and they go very, very fast under electric power. All right. This ordinance is not dealing with those devices at all. Okay. These are only dealing with anything 750 watts and under. They have pedals, and the maximum speed that they can go is up to 28 miles per hour. That's based on the standards set by the industry. Everything else in there, the other 2 definitions I want to bring your attention to, just we put in there, the human-powered should be common sense, but movement accomplished by propelling via human power, and then the non-human powered, which is anything propelled by anything other than human power. And I give an example of electric, gas, or other combustion. All right. So we identified those definitions in there. Everything else throughout this ordinance is truly based off of state statute, except state statute is a little bit more vague. And so we outlined it where everybody should be able to understand it. And that is following the rules of the road. I like to call this ordinance really a common courtesy type of ordinance, right? Because these are things that we should be doing. And some of the things that have been brought up, the complaints that we're hearing are, typically 3 main areas. One is Rotary Park. Bridgewater Channel, and the multi-use path on the island. Those seem to be our hot button areas that we get the complaints from. So we broke this down we created this ordinance. The language in here is outlining what the rules of the road are. Common things in here, that, shall signal all turning movements, operate as practical to the right-hand curb or edge of the roadway, edge of a designated bicycle path or lane, such things as that. We also added in there that the devices also cannot go above the posted speed limit, all right, which we've seen that some of these devices are amazing on how fast they can go. One of the common things that I've heard that people think that these devices cannot be on public sidewalks, and that's not the case. They can be, and this ordinance specifies that as well. The key to that is that when you do ride any type of device on a sidewalk is that you ride to the right-hand portion of it. When you are approaching a pedestrian, you give an audible signal of some sort. Hey, I'm on your left. I'm going to pass on your left, whatever. Just notifying them that you're coming up on them. You should slow your speed down and pass safely. Again, you see why this should be called the common courtesy ordinance. Everything in this, we did add into both sections, adding in there that we feel that our youth, 16 years of age and under, should wear helmets. We feel that's appropriate and, to help with the safety aspect. All right. Bring your attention to one other section, C. The Public Works Director is the one that's authorized to erect any type of sign. So ultimately, we're not outlining anything in this ordinance that says there's a certain regulation on any type of device. We're just giving, this is the rules of the road, right? You can see where there's a big push. We need to do better on education. You see, we created a video. Thank you to all those involved, Sergeant Jerry Burns, Steve and the boys, the guys, right? The two students that helped us. That's just one piece of it. All right. The big piece is for us to work with the school district to get into all the classrooms, teach our kids, creating pamphlets that are going to be sent home to the parents and going to our local bike shops to see, and I know most of them are going to assist us in promoting the educational aspect of this, to get the information out there. And here's your responsibility operating any of these type of devices for public safety and really the common courtesy of everybody involved in this. Let's see, what else? Same thing, lighting required, dusk till dawn, those type of things. Those are really the highlights of this. Ultimately, what we anticipate is the reason we went with just making this rules of the road specific is because there may be a direction that as council, you decide that we want to put specific regulations in certain areas. We can accomplish that by this ordinance via signs. All right. And then that way, if we feel that that direction is not working for us, we don't have to come back and change the entire ordinance. We can just change the signs based on the needs and what we feel our community wants. I will tell you that in the research that Sergeant Burns did for this project, looking at a lot of different cities that are similar to us, beach cities down to Scottsdale, Tempe, that have a lot of tourist areas. It varies across the board as far as what type of regulations there are. So it really comes down to, and there's some that have created some regulations that didn't work for them. And so it's really, there's no one size fits all. It's what's good for us. And so ultimately, I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you, but really this is to start the conversation on which direction we want to go. The ordinance changes itself are fairly simple in of itself. There's no specific regulations in here. Okay. So with that, I would entertain any questions that you may have.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. I think there's a couple of important things that we talk about. One, this is an amendment. So this is the first read. So this is the opportunity for us to gain citizen feedback, user feedback. But this is an amendment to a current ordinance we currently have in place. It's just outdated. I believe, if memory serves me, it was around 2012 or so.
11, I believe, yes.
2011 that this was last addressed. And at that time, scooters were what the big thing was. this has, we've been having conversations about this, nearly 18 months with Councilmember Koch. Actually was the first that brought it to me from a complaint that she received from a citizen. And then we just kind of been working through different complaints that we're receiving, kind of measuring what's happening and what's going on with the market with, the increase in spaces. But, this ordinance just updates that certain section. It gives the public works director, based on the feedback that we give the city manager on what areas that we might want to do that. Chief, if you could talk a little bit about, because there's been people that said, oh, just put a speed limit in, and then other folks have said, only this class, but as you said, no one even knows what class it is. So if you could talk about kind of how you got to the methodology of human power versus non-human powered, like that definition, that's what you're proposing at this point.
Sure, yes. So trying to look at it from which direction we go as far as an enforcement piece, right? Once we, I highlighted the education piece, and that's going to be a huge component of this, right? But at some point, we're going to need to get to the enforcement. And so trying to look at what from an enforcement standpoint is going to be the easiest. There's challenges to whichever direction we go. All right. Speed limits are tough. All right. Especially with, these devices. I had Sergeant Burns tested out our LiDARs and our radars to kind of see what it would pick up, and it wouldn't pick up until it was in double digits. So, above that 10 miles per hour speed limit, so some cities in the research showed that cities used a 5 mile per hour as a limit. You can see where we're going to have challenges with that, right? And so there's certain things we're sort of restricting, not utilizing the device under electric power, so using human power only in designated areas, if that's a direction that council wanted to entertain. There's also getting off the devices and walking them through certain designated areas. So just different ways to look at that. Each one's going to have its own challenge, but that's, going back to my prior introduction, that changes in that ordinance, having additional resources that I have available to me to help us with these type of enforcement pieces is going to be huge.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Are there questions or comments from members of the council?
Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell?
I just look forward to hearing open to the public to hear what they have to say.
Great.
What they have, where I have my direction. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Any other questions or comments before we open the public hearing? All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. We did have several folks sign up for this section, so we'll just go with the folks that signed up first, and then we'll open up to anyone else. Mike McNamara, would you like to speak on this item? Yeah, please, welcome.
I'll say hi to the council. We walk the channel and we ride our bikes. We do a lot of electric bike riding. And I think on the channel, there's a lot of people walking, and we walk it and these bikes come flying through there. And it's not very safe. And I think that from like the aquatic center through the village, I think all bikes should be banned in that area. And as far as the other side goes, on the other side of the channel, I think that you should look at, that side too, because, people are walking their dogs, and there are a lot of older people, and it's really, really rude. And some of those kids are just flying through there. The island, it's people on their bikes are going in one direction, and the people walking are going in the other. And, it's not really that busy. And I think that needs to stay open for both parties. And I think you need to put a speed limit sign up in there. And these bikes, a lot of them have speedometers on them, so people know how fast they're going. As far as, a lot of these bikes are going really fast. I mean, they can go 35 miles an hour, these electric bikes, and they have throttles on them. And, they're, a lot of these bikes comes, flying down the bike paths. I think the city needs to develop a bike path on the side of the roads. So these bikes can go on there. You know what I'm saying? Because, they shouldn't be on the sidewalks. They shouldn't be on these bike paths. But if they're going under 15 miles an hour or whatever speed limit you decide, then I think that should be okay. So, and again, you've got your work cut out for you, enforcing it. But I do think speed limit signs and stuff like that, and posting signs down in a channel, no bikes, just pedestrians, would be a great idea. Okay.
Thank you, Mike. A question for you, Mike. If you mentioned that the island walking or pedestrian path should stay open under a definition of human powered, if someone that had an e-bike that was under human power using the pedals, that would still be allowable. Would that solve it? They're just not using the electric component?
We bike ride in Idaho a lot, and they have a speed limit of 15 miles per hour, and you're not supposed to ride motorized bikes in there. Well, if it's got throttles, then I would consider it a motorized bike. Pedal assisted, I wouldn't. They don't enforce it, but they have the signs up. And most people don't go over 15 miles an hour. And some of these people that are pedaling are going 15, 20 miles an hour too. So, but if somebody's got a motorized bike and they're going on this bike path where there's people on bikes and they're walking, that's not right. That should be enforced.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you. All right. The next person that signed up, Donald Johansson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm Don Johansson. I am a driver, an e-bike rider, and a walker. I walk the channel several times a week, all the way from Rotary Park down to the State Park. I heard a lot of things tonight. I think there's a lot of things missing. The chief, I agree with what he's trying to do in principle. I think what I'm seeing written here has a lot of problems, and I'm going to tell you why I think there's problems and what I suggest you might do to consider fixing them. On the skateboard thing, is our skate park lighted in Rotary Park? Yes. So why would you require lights at night? That's what's written in here. Watch for unintended consequences of what you put in this verbiage. Another problem I've got is the state of Arizona, Title 28, defines a lot of these vehicles. They're not really vehicles either, because they define what a vehicle and a motorized bike is. What is proposed is very similar to the state, but not exact. I highly urge the council, if you adopt something, use the definitions from the Arizona statutes, 28, because they define a bicycle, an electric bike, a motorized skateboard, electric personal assistive mobility vehicle, which is basically a Segway type thing, or a motorized unicycle, electric stand-up scooter. These are in the proposal here, but they don't follow the exact definitions of what Arizona defined. So why? One thing missing is an electronic or electric miniature scooter, which is a smaller electric scooter that I've seen people ride. So I would recommend carefully following what Arizona has already done. And if you read the Arizona statute, it takes care of a lot of nuances between these different types of equipment. Okay, as far as the definitions, they also include in the Arizona what a pedestrian is and what motor or a vehicle is and what a vehicle is. Got to be careful what terms you use. As far as the rules of the road, I have a big problem with how these are written in unintended consequences. For example, any person riding a bicycle, electric bike, etc., on a bikeway, sidewalk, or bicycle path that is about to enter or cross roadway shall yield the right of way to all traffic on such roadway. That sounds great, but what's the reality? I'm riding my e-bike down the road and I'm going to cross the street. What if I press the crosswalk? I get the green light. I start going across the street. What about a car making a right turn? Who has the right of way? You've created a law here which doesn't make sense. Another condition is what if you have two e-bikes riding on sidewalks, an intersection? So now I've got two bicycles heading to each other. Who has the right of way? According to this, they both have to yield right away. So how these rules are written are not real clear. I also think the rules should be written so any 9, 10, 11-year-old learning to ride a bike can read them and understand them. These are written for, I don't know, I have a summa cum laude degree in electrical engineering, and I don't really understand exactly what's being presented here. So I think you need to rewrite these rules, approach them from the point of, I'm riding on a street, a roadway. What are my rules? Speed limits, traffic lights, etc. You bet. What if I'm riding on a bike path or a multi-use path? Do I have to follow directions that are, posted down there? Sure, makes sense. On the island, really makes sense. I did it Sunday. I passed 16 walkers on the 3-mile trek. Not a problem at all. The other problem here is what happens on directions. If you read this, maybe you can make sense of it. I can't.
Don, before you read something to us, tell us what you're reading us, because we have it in front of us as well.
This is on the city web pages. This is the proposed ordinance.
Right. Yeah, tell us the letter. And
I'm sorry.
Then we can follow along.
Yeah. For example, number 8. No person shall ride or operate a bicycle, etc. All the devices may proceed either way where signs or pavement markings on the sidewalks, bikeway, or bicycle lane appear designating two-way traffic. How many of our sidewalks have designators for two-way traffic? I don't know who wrote this, but it doesn't make sense. I agree with the principle, but the way it was written needs some serious work. Night lights on an e-bike, e-bikes, motorized scooters, or the scooters. Arizona statute requires equipment, but there are other things here. Lights were not included in the thing, so we got problems there. I think this is a good idea. I don't think this is ready for prime time yet. And my time is up. Any questions?
Are there any questions from members of the council? All right. Well, thank you for adding to the conversation. Would anyone else like to address that? That concludes those that have signed up. So now anyone else that would like to address it, just make your way to the podium. Yeah, come on up. Yeah, that's the sound you hear when you use your time. But Don already sat down. So yeah, please just make your way to the podium, state your name for the record, and share your comments with us.
My name is Joseph Tuso. My wife is Hermine Tuso. We're both here tonight. We're both riders of what we call e-trikes, recumbent. I have a picture here if you'd like to have it.
Yeah, you can give it to the city clerk, please. And she'll read it into the record for us.
We are in our mid-80s, and a few years ago, we had to stop riding bicycles. So we went to the recumbent e-trikes, and it's a very important part of our exercise and activity. We ride mostly out on the island, and I'll have to say this. The directional things on the island are great. Not everybody follows them. And people walking dogs can be a problem there too, especially the bigger ones. Most everybody there is really good. But there's always the 20% or 10%. And there's a lot of people that can't walk and chew gum. They have their earphones in. They're listening to music. They're totally oblivious. Yesterday, I had a guy almost walk into me. I had to stop, and he almost walked into me. We have to cross McCullough and Lake Havasu to get out to the bridge, to get onto the island. Or truck rather, we were in the crosswalk with the walk signal, and this guy pretty much rolled the light to make a right turn, almost got me. I had to hit the brakes pretty hard. Coming back over the bridge, the sidewalk was completely blocked with lights. So we had to go out into the street. We waited for traffic to ease up and went across as fast as we could. We do have electric bikes. They're about 500 watts, maximum speed about 25 miles per hour. And I had to use it to get across there to make it safe. And one thing I would like to see is when you get the new bridge, you've got 3 lanes on the old bridge. Can you take one of those lanes and convert them into 2 bicycle lanes? Keep us off those stupid sidewalks.
Those are all considerations that we'll have as those components. I mean, as we continue to have infrastructure, we'll be able to do some of those elements.
Chief, you did a good job on that. Thank you. And I hope you have good luck with your apprentice.
Sir, before you leave, I do have a question for you. So are you riding your trike around the multi-use path on the island?
Yes, we do. We do 2 laps. We drive down there. It's 2 miles. Do 2 laps. So we end up doing about 12 to 13 miles if we make a pit stop out at Site 6.
When you're at the island multi-use path, are you under human power or are you using?
We use 10% power.
Okay.
No, we'd have to have some assistance. Going up hills, we go up to 20%. We don't normally go throttle.
But you have to, you're pedaling.
We are pedaling.
You have to pedal.
We don't get any exercise if we don't pedal.
Right. Yes. Yeah, very good. All right. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, please. We have a gentleman here, and then Dan, you can go right after. Yes.
Hello, everybody. My name's Jerry Hayward, and I just want to clear up something. We're talking about e-bikes, and e-bikes are no different than a regular bike. And pedal assist e-bikes is something, is new technology that has given people like me that have ridden bikes my whole life new life. I can now continue riding my bike. And I ride my e-bike exactly the same way as I ride the old bike. It just assists me when I get tired, and I don't ride any faster. I don't try to run people over. I don't have less control. And I think you're making a big mistake saying whether you're using the electric part of the bike or not. When you have, there's like 4 or 5 speeds you can go. And most of the time using one. One is plenty to assist you in pedaling. That's what it is pedal assist. And my biggest issue is the island path. I see no issues. I ride it all the time, and I ride it with my e-bike. I used to ride it with my mountain bike. And I don't see any issues, especially traffic, the way they're opposing each other. I never have had any problems. Only problems I've had is the same as the other gentleman, is with pedestrians not paying attention and walking 5 people wide on the not following the rules. And you see people a lot of times going the wrong way. And that's the problem with ordinances, is enforcement. And I don't think any new ordinances should be made until we enforce the ordinances we have, which is another issue. One of my pet peeves is the lighting ordinances, that, 50% at least of the homes, residences in the town don't follow those ordinances. But anyway, my biggest issue on this is you're making e-bikes. E-bikes are the exact same as a regular bike. It just helps people that are slowing down be able to still ride a bike. I live clear up Kiowa. There's no way I could ride down. I could ride down, but I can't get back up, And I used to. I had a road bike. I used to. So I really feel like you're confusing e-bikes with powered vehicles. It's still human powered. It's assisted power. That's all.
Yeah, thank you for your feedback. Would anyone else like to address the City Council on this item? Yeah, please. Yeah, make your way to the podium. State your name for the record. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Dan. We'll go next. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Diane Crossman. And me and my husband have e-bikes without throttles. And my husband's 21 years older than me. And we ride on the island, we ride on the channel, and I have a bell. I ring my bell if there's a pedestrian, and they always thank us. We both have bells on our bikes. And if I'm on the channel, I'm very careful if there's people I like going down there. I love going down there. They have social events. I love going down there with my bike. And I love the island. And most people follow. Once in a while, you'll see a bike going the wrong way. I almost want to yell at them, "You're going the wrong way," but I don't. But I always use my bell, and we don't go very fast. And like the last gentleman said, e-bikes without a throttle, it's just assist. If you're going to go up a steep hill, you can actually get up a hill. So.
Yeah, thank you. So for your assist, you have to be pedaling under human power.
Yes. Yeah, we don't have throttles, so it's not like we do have scooters that go 40 miles an hour, and we do not ride those. We don't ride those on the island or the channel. Yes. Yes.
Correct. Registered.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you.
So.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
My name is Dan Kobloch. Two things. I wasn't planning on the first one, but I can't emphasize how important it is for lighting on these vehicles. I was driving on London Bridge Road, which is about as dark as it gets, and I heard a motorized bicycle. I mean, obviously, this is like some kid got a small gasoline engine and put it on this thing, and I'm hearing it, and I had no idea where he was. And then suddenly he swerved to my right and across me to make a left-hand turn. I mean, this was death on wheels. It scared me because if it had been electric and he didn't I would have no idea he was there. Another example was when a kid was on the right side near the curb coming down McCulloch at Jamaica, downhill where the stop sign is, the famous stop sign. And I had no chance of seeing him because he was accelerating past me as I'm trying to make a right-hand turn. So and this was at dusk, where a headlight alone or a lit taillight would have helped a lot. Secondly, I'm more interested in the, Chief, when you mentioned that there would be signs that were at the discretion of the Public Works Director. Is that the language?
It's ultimately based on direction given by council. The Public Works Director has the authority to erect these signs.
Okay. Well, I would like to amplify what those signs would say. Is it just speed limits, or is it no-go, or is that what your idea is? No biking allowed or something.
Mr. Kobloch, yeah, you have to address the council, but that would be the conversation that we're having.
Okay.
Right now. So we'll be determining that.
But my purpose really is the language itself in the code. When you say, as the Public Works Director shall determine, that to me is the most dangerous language that legislatures from all the way up to our Congress in the United States, that is the most dangerous language. When they say, as the Secretary shall determine, that means that you're abrogating your legislative power to an unelected bureaucrat. And that makes me very concerned because I have no idea what they're doing. I have no idea, and your power devolves down to people that we didn't elect. And I would just encourage each of you, if you're going to pass an ordinance, that we can see, not what somebody else somewhere at the lower levels has the power of law. In other words, you could be cited and fined. But you guys never pass the law. So that's all my concern is that we keep the lawmaking or the ordinance making power within you council members whom we elect. Because we trust you. We want you to do the best for us. That's why we're a republic. We give our representation to you to do these things for us. And I really do not like this bureaucratic power. And as you know, what it comes down to is armed men breaking into a person's house and killing his pet squirrel. That's what it ends up at. Like, who were they and why did they have this power? Well, they were given the power. And so that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, yeah, please. Yeah, just keep making your way up to the podium and state your name for the record.
You start a line.
Good evening. I'm Bob and Linda Walker, residents of Havasu, which we love, and we're e-bike riders. We're up in the age, a little younger than the 80-year-old guy. Not much, but always rode here. We've been coming since before the bridge, and we moved here. We love it, the community, the people, and we love the e-bikes. We agree with the other gentleman. Yeah, I have injuries. I'm a veteran. I can go farther. I do it pedal assist. I abide by the rules. Well, helmets, lights, pads, anything I can do to, come get kind of shaky. But we both agree the same thing. The city is thinking. The channel is outrageous. We go down there all the time.
We walk it as
We
well.
walk it, and we go down and have lunch, but we don't ride our bikes down it. We park them. Enjoy the company of the people, because we also do the boating thing. And we agree with that, the channel thing, that the island, I love the island. I love what you guys have done. Kind of confusing on the signing, but we don't have any problem with that. And we just sit there sometimes and see the madness and go, wow, I wish I could tell that gentleman or that child or kid, slow it down. But, they just tell me to, who died and made you the whatever. Anyway, that's my comment on it. I love it. It's great for exercise. I can go farther. She says I should go a little farther, but hey, I'm doing the best I can. Anyway, she wants to make a few comments. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, thank you. We do love our e-bikes, and we do love Lake Havasu, and I do have concerns, and I know that the young kids are getting a bad rap because of a select few that are abusing the channel walkways. And it's really sad, because I have nearly been hurt. I was walking one day, reached down to get some trash to put in the trash can, and got brushed by a kid that was going 30 miles an hour down the channel. It scared me. And, another concern of ours is that the bike lanes in this town scare me to death. Because one, I only know of 2 of them, and that would be the I-95 bike lanes and the London Bridge bike lane. And I have called a number of people in the city, and the signage on London Bridge Road and the bike lanes itself are scary. For one, the bike lane going, say, from Mesquite, right past the Hampton, it's so wide that people don't know it's a bike lane. Yes. Vehicles think it's a vehicle lane. And when I called the city, they told me it's a multi-use lane, so people can park there, which means that if we're riding our bikes there, we're out in the vehicle lane, right? But we see people driving in those lanes, and it scares us to death. Our biggest fear, too, is right-hand turners. We would never cross without the walk signal, and numerous times, but going both ways, when we have the walk and we want to cross the street and somebody turns right in front of us, or as we're coming the other way, they're turning right. They're not seeing us. No, they don't see. And that's scary. So those are some of my...
When you're on a bicycle or on a bike?
This is on our bike, right. Yeah. But it's the right-hand turn vehicles that are causing us some concerns. Anyway, I'd like to see a more comprehensive bike paths for this town that's growing, and the population is growing, and the seniors are growing with it, So I don't want the kids to have a bad rap, but I understand also that they don't know rules of the road. They don't recognize common courtesy because they haven't learned it through driving and through, proper education. So I really support you guys getting that out to them, and maybe some more awareness with signage on the streets and some of the, what are they? The things that you have on the road, the
markings for bike trails.
Yeah, for bike paths and stuff that make it a little safer for us. I'd really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, please just make your way to the podium. State your name for the record. Yeah. Well, actually, no, you get one time up. I'm sorry, but if we have questions for you, we'll come back. Yes. Yeah, there's folks coming, yeah. So just make your way to the podium, state your name for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is Matt Carranza. I've been riding bicycles down in the channel in that area, Windsor, Rotary, both sides, the island, for about 30 years. As we got older, I transitioned to a e-bike, class 1 bike. So if you guys do introduce some type of ordinance restrictions on people, it's restricting people from using open space. It should be a shared space, and everybody can share these spaces together if they all act accordingly. So if you do try to restrict them, you're going to have a ton of issues with enforcement. I don't know how you're going to do it. Somebody calls police on me. You're 300 yards down the road. The police show up at Rotary Park. You're at the skate park. You're on the other side of the bridge. It's really hard for a police car to make it from one side, from the south side to the north side. They have to go all the way around, up and around. They aren't going to be able to get a hold of somebody. If they do get a hold of somebody, they get a hold of me on my e-bike. Somebody says I'm riding too fast or something. I just turn my e-bike off, click it off. They roll up to me, hey, you're riding your e-bike down here. No, it's a human-powered bike. It's not an e-bike. So it's going to be really hard on them to enforce any of these rules. So I strongly suggest for you guys not to implement any of these rules. The max speed of my bike is 20 miles an hour. My bicycles that I had before, I could ride 20 miles an hour. So you aren't really gaining anything. I understand the issues with Sur-Ron bikes. My son had a Sur-Ron bike. I've ridden Sur-Ron bikes before. They're crazy fast. I've seen them down there. I've talked to kids down there that are on them before, pulled them over, talked to them, I'm on my bike. Hey, you guys are going to ruin it for everybody. And they back-talked me and said, hey, whatever, get out of here. You're an old guy. So I see what they're doing down there. I see them in the parks. I see them on the golf course tearing stuff up. I think a possible solution would be if the police department got a couple of e-bikes, maybe 3 e-bikes, if they were down there. If they're driving around, they're in contact with the people, they're talking to the people. They can see the bad actors, they can see the good actors. The people that are down there that are complaining, sometimes they have earbuds in. Sometimes they're not paying attention. Sometimes they're 4 across on the pathway. They're talking in the middle of the pathway. They'll see these issues. Sometimes they have a dog on a 10-foot lead or a dog off leash, and then they get upset at the biker because you're going between them and their dog. So there's a lot of issues. It's going to be really tough for you guys. The island is a great thing, and I don't think there's any issues out there. I do see issues in the channel area. So any questions from any of you?
No, just what was your name again?
Matt Carranza.
Perfect.
I'm an easy person to find. Anybody can get a hold of me. I'll take you down there and take you on a ride. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Nick. Yeah, please. Yeah, if you want to come on up and just state your name.
My name is Hermit Tuso. I just don't want to be banned from the island. It's the only thing I have where I can ride the trike. And I follow my husband. It's too hard for me to get to the light for a crossing. And the other sidewalks, they have too many street crossings. And the streets are too rough in those tricycles. And the tires are not very fat. So it just shakes you to pieces. The island is beautiful. However, when they smooth it, they should have smoothed out the crossings too. It just shakes you to pieces. So that's about, I used to do all kinds of things. When we first came here, we hiked. We used kayaks. I did large stretches with it. Now I'm in a couple months, I'm 87, and I had 2 back surgeries this year, so I just can't do anything anymore. And I can't walk by myself either. About 3 weeks ago, I used 2 sticks to walk, and we have a loop in the neighborhood. It's a mile, and normally we make it 2 miles. I didn't quite make it. I was tired, and even with 2 sticks, I fell down, and I was bleeding all over. Then I walked a little further and my foot bent out. So I was down on the
dear.
and Joe insisted that we go to the hospital, so he calls the ambulance. So it's just, I can't take it. I don't want to give things up. I just don't want to believe that I'm old. If you can keep me on that trail, it would help me a whole bunch. Thank you.
You're an inspiration, that's for sure. Yeah, keep rocking it. Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name is Terry Parcells, and you've heard already a lot of it this evening. I hope I'm not too duplicative here. But I ride an e-bike too, and you have to pedal. And I think most people's residences are upland instead of inland. They're upland. And the first time, about 15 years ago, I loved to ride bikes, and I rode down. It was pretty easy. I got really fast. Actually, it's kind of scary. But going back up, I could not make it. So I invested in the e-bike. It's really super great. But there aren't a lot of flat areas. There aren't many places where the bikes can ride. And I like what she had to say. She said, don't take my island away from me. And I know it's very hard to please everybody, and you can't please everybody. But if you're going to take something away from the bikers, then you might be leaning more toward you're supporting the pedestrians. And what I want to say is that if you're going to take away something from the bikers, give them something else where they can safely ride. We want everybody to be safe for sure. But this is kind of a different take that I have on the island. I hear a lot of people overall the course of the years of the building going on in the island. And I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, they think that they're exquisite people. They're special people because they live on the island. It's our island. And I fear that they kind of think that this is their walking path. And I believe that probably most of the people that walk on the island live there. And that's very nice and convenient for them. But what about the people that don't live there? This island is supposed to be for everybody. And the walkers, you can walk around your block. You can walk around all the blocks out there. But where do the bikers go where it is safe? I think that's really super important. So before you take it away, give us a little bit of something. Let's see here. So can we have, maybe you guys are going to be entertaining a lot of ideas, maybe a separate little walkway for the pedestrians. But the pedestrians are kind of a problem a lot of times. They're the ones that just think that they just own this road and they'll go 5 deep. And even if you're saying passing on the left, that kind of startles them. But there should be room for everybody to be happy. And I caution you that if you're going to take something away, and especially as we get older, we love our exercising, and you don't want to take the island away from the previous speaker here, Don't take it away from her, and don't take it away from any of us bikers. So thank you very much. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Brett Miller. I am a local business owner, bicycle shop, cycle therapy.
Yeah, Brett, could you just pull your mic up? Perfect, thank you.
Oh, I'm Brett Miller. I'm the owner of a local bike shop, Cycle Therapy. And I have read through a lot of the ordinance change. And the main problem that I see with it is Section 2, letter C, giving power to one person to be able to ban something. I don't feel like that is very constitutional. It's in our 9th Amendment in the Bill of Rights, we have unenumerated rights, including the right to travel freely through public areas. Letter C seems like an overreach of that local government if it goes through. Also in this, to clarify some of the language of it. So human-powered states movement accomplished or propelled by human power, such as walking, running, or by vehicle or device which is designed and equipped to be propelled by human power. Does that mean that our shoes are human-powered? Is that walking, running? So if you ban something, are we banned from walking the island? Or are we banned from walking the channel? A lot of people have talked about the dangers of bicycles and people walking. I feel like Arizona already has a law, endangerment, public endangerment, and those are real laws that can be enforced if we want to right now, instead of proposing an ordinance to ban bicycles. The last thing is most of following the rules of the road on the sidewalk makes sense other than in business areas. In business areas, if you're on the right-hand side of the sidewalk, you're closest to doors opening and people walking out of businesses. So maybe there's an exception there for around businesses. Other than that, I'm in agreement with all the rest of the safety parts of it, lighting, knowing, education. The only thing that I would say too, going back to the signage and someone being able to put up a sign to do something is, instead of banning something, maybe make it an educational sign and propose a speed limit that's safe for everybody. And I think that's all that I have. Thank you guys for listening to me.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we might have figured out why from Smoke Tree to Acoma that it was banned in that area because of the business section that you had. Because again, we're not proposing anything new. This is changing what we currently have, amending it, so that we might have discovered why that section was a cutout, but we can absolutely consider that too. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please just make your way. We have a gentleman here, and then Brett will go with you after.
Mayor, City Council, my name is Bob Crossman. I'm the old fart that's 21 years older than her. I'll be 87 in 2 months, and we bike almost every day. I'm fortunate because I come from an area where we have many bike trails. Up in Idaho, one trail's 84 miles long. Another one's probably 100 and some miles long, and we bike all those trails. My suggestion would be to see if you can get some more trails down here, because we need, with all the people moving in, it sounds to me like there's an awful lot of bikers. So if they had the trails to ride, that would solve a lot of the problem, because they wouldn't be riding in some of the other places they're not supposed to. So that's my suggestion. Okay?
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brett Miller. I'm not that Brett Miller, but a different Brett Miller. I ride an e-bike, an e-mountain bike that I ride down at Sarah Park, usually 3 or 4 times a week. I have had experience with the kids on the Surrons and stuff, riding down sidewalks. I walk my dog along Daytona, and we get a lot of, that seems to be the kind of the main thoroughfare for kids getting down to Rotary. And, I've had to jump into people's yards, jump into the back of a pickup from a kid riding by on one of those on the sidewalk. Initially, I was pretty upset, but then I remembered I used to be a kid, and I got a ticket at 15 for riding a scooter to high school when I didn't have a license. So I don't want to throw the kids under the bus. I'm happy that they're out there doing stuff, and I'm happy that they're not looking at a screen. I'm happy that they're going to the park and using the facilities. I think a lot of this is just highlighting the lack of bicycle infrastructure in town. If there was, I've been to other cities. My son goes to school at U of A, and in Tucson, they have a bicycle thoroughfare where they've basically converted like a residential street that kind of goes all the way through town, and it's just for bikes. And it allows people to get from one end of town to the other without interacting with cars. And, I think that kind of infrastructure would be great. I used to road bike until I had just too many close calls on the roads here. And And, like I said, I think this just highlights the need for more bicycle infrastructure. And to her point, where she was kind of getting everything shaken to pieces, the road quality in Havasu, if you ride a bicycle, particularly a road bike with some of the high pressure tires, it's pretty sketchy with the chip seal that we do. So I'm happy that you guys got the sweeping program going again, and you're sweeping the bike lanes and getting all the debris out of the bike lanes. That helps a lot. But I think, like I said, I think this just highlights a need for more bicycle infrastructure in Havasu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again, Joan DeZero. I'm going to leave where people should ride to the people that ride the bikes. But what I wanted to talk about was I hope you'll leave in here the fact that we want the kids under 16 to wear the helmets and the lights on their bikes. In the last 2 weeks, I have almost hit 4 kids. And it's my father-in-law got hit by a car and lost a leg and part of his arm. And it wasn't just his devastation, but the driver who hit him. So this is, we sometimes make light of the fact that it's going, but when you hit someone, you may not kill them, but you will certainly maim them if it's your car against a bike. So I think if we can at least emphasize that for the kids, I appreciate that they've added that in there, because that's something I was absolutely shaking for the last 2 weeks. It's usually at dusk, because that's the hardest time to see what's going on. And these people wear the dark clothing, and the next thing you know, they're right in front of you. So I think if you could keep that in the ordinance would be very helpful for those of us that aren't riding but are driving around with our bikes. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council on this item? Yeah, please just make your way to the podium and state your name.
Hi, my name is Brandon Bunch. I also work at Cycle Therapy, and I want to just echo a lot of the things that have been said here. I actually am a pretty avid user of Rotary Park and the channel and all that, and I mostly run and walk down there. And to be honest, I've not had many issues with people on bikes at all. And it is mostly people walking that will either take up the whole pathway as standing and talking, or walking, shoulder to shoulder, taking up the whole path. But I have seen kids, and I used to be a kid too, but, flying through the channel. So some sort of rules or speed limits, or I don't know what could be enforced, but, having some guidelines to keep people safe there is definitely needed. That's a place that, like, my fiance and I, with like our 5-year-old nephew, we ride bikes with him in the channel, and we cruise and go slow. And, I would hate to see bicycles banned there, because it's a place we enjoy riding quite a bit. And I'm sure we'll be riding down there with our kids in the future. So, but working at the bike shop, I would like to say that we'd be happy to be a part of the discussion in all this. And if there's anything we can do as far as helping with education to new bike owners, things like that, we'd be more than happy to help, because we just want to see people be safe also. So, that's kind of the main things that I have to say. That I'd hate to see it banned, but I think there do need to be rules, to keep people safe.
Mayor?
Thank you. Yeah.
One question for him.
Yes.
Have you seen an increase in tourism? Do you guys rent bikes?
Yes, we do rent bikes.
And is that grown quite a bit from tourism?
In the past few years, especially with e-bikes, we have a lot more people coming in wanting to rent bikes to go ride through the channel, ride through the parks, ride around the island, all that.
Do you offer any educational pieces for that?
Just what we can give them, and we give them a briefing on how to use the bike, and we give them a briefing on the basic rules. But actually, we would love to have like a pamphlet, handbook, like any kind of literature that we can help put together to be able to hand out to people. Would be great.
Have you seen an increase in the senior population riding more bikes? I'm going to say over the last, I don't know how long you've worked there, but I'm just asking you, over the last 5 years, have you seen an increase in the overall participation of riding bikes with seniors, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. E-bikes. As some of the people have said, we have a lot of customers that they can't pedal their normal bikes anymore, or especially climbing hills back from the island, back up to their houses or from the park or wherever. they can't do it on a normal bike anymore, and e-bikes have given them the freedom to be able to do it. So yeah, I think it would be a shame to ban e-bikes, but there should be rules. And as someone else, stated earlier, there's class 1, 2, and 3 bikes that, designate like whether it has a throttle or not, and also the maximum speed that they can assist to. We should definitely stick with using that. But, I can definitely pedal a bike faster than 28 miles per hour in a normal pedal bike. So, it's not necessarily e-bikes that are the problem. It's just people that don't know how to control their speed.
So you're recommending in the channel area like a 15 mile an hour speed limit for your bike?
Yeah,
And you think it'd be easier to manage?
Yeah, I think like even 10 miles an hour in the channel would be reasonable as a speed limit for people on bikes or whatever. I mean, it's not necessarily, I wouldn't call that like a transportation corridor there. It's, for sightseeing and like hanging out. So yeah, having a speed limit would be good.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Did you have any other comments?
No.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Hi there.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Leal, and I just want to say I'm a cyclist, runner, walker, athlete, I guess, a little bit of everything. And I love what the chief had to say about the safety. I see all the little problems you guys brought up. I personally use the channel every day. I run on the channel, I bike on the channel. I do use the island for biking and running, but I personally, if I'm by myself, I don't feel safe as a woman being by myself some days because there's cars, coyotes. So I love sticking on the channel. And I love that all the elders spoke up for themselves about the health, because that's my main thing. I'm all about health and wellness. And I'm glad you guys spoke up for yourselves. But I guess what I'm speaking up for is more for the children, because I do see mothers in the morning with their strollers and their little kids, pushing the stroller and the little kid on bikes. And that was my fiance, and same thing, we take our nephew right around the channel. That's the only place we feel safe. I personally am not a road biker. I'm a mountain biker and a channel and an island, but that's about it. I'm scared of the roads, honestly. I do use the little bike path behind the apartments. What is it called? The wash path, I think. Yeah.
The wash.
So, and now that everybody mentioned the infrastructure, I think that would be a great idea to the city, because I see a potential for the city as it's growing. Very athletic. I've heard a lot of people say this is a very athletic city, beautiful city. I love it. Full of walkers, runners, and bikers. And I feel that instead of taking the bikes away from the channel and taking the bikes away from the city, let's work with the chief. Let's maybe even start a new business, bike business. I don't know. I'm a businesswoman already. I have a childcare center. So maybe this is my opportunity, or the bike shop's opportunity, or something with the community to educate the kids. And hopefully by educating them, they will ride the channel safer, or like signage for slower, more rules. So I'm just speaking up more for the children too that don't have a voice out here, because that's going to be sad if I don't know where else we would ride if I don't get to ride the channel. So. And I don't know if you guys have more questions or any questions.
No, I'd just like to say thank you for following through. So Elizabeth came to Coffee with the Mayor when we were there. She heard it and said, "You're talking about bikes and I like bikes." And she got down to that meeting so quickly to share her feedback and then to follow through today. Thank you for adding to the conversation on what this might look like when it's all done.
Yeah. So I mean, I see potential, but I think it could either go, the wrong way and take the bikes away, or the city could grow better, more athletic, more tourism. I think just everything, with rules, rules, regulations, safety. And that's all I have to say. And I am glad everybody spoke up for the older generation and my generation, but now I'm speaking up for the children as well. So
fantastic. Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council on this item? Yeah, please. Yeah, just, please you want to stand up and speak, sir? Sure. Okay. Yeah, just state your name for the record.
My name is Mike Newcomb. I ride motorcycles. Basically, in the old days, it was anything that was powered by gas or electric was considered motorized, and then it had to have the safety stuff of the driver has the right class on his driver's license, and the motorcycle or the scooter would have a place for lights, blinkers, stuff like that. Then, I don't know, do you know there's a test down behind the DMV, a track back there that you have to pass to get a motorcycle license? And I've seen people flunk that thing that been riding for a long time. Because one of the tests is you got to accelerate and then at this line, put on your brakes and stop as fast as you can. And I like to see a scooter do that. You know, so I think we need to just back it up, and then you can make exceptions for other stuff. But those ones that just have one speed going downhill, that battery gets them going pretty good. But it's more of a safety thing. And you're talking about like 9-10-year-old kids out there on those things. I mean, we have laws that cover motorcycles, and they could cover this stuff. That's all.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yeah, please. You want to come on up?
Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Fred Rogers. I am an 11-year resident of Havasu and enjoy it. And I discovered when I moved here, there wasn't 10 feet of level road. It was either going up or going down. So I was getting a little soggy, and I decided I'd get a bike, and that didn't work out. Took the fun out of it, so I bought an e-bike, and I bought the one that doesn't have a throttle. I guess it's a class 1. And in 2 years, I rode it 2,700 miles and lost 40 pounds. Kind of in the right direction. Yeah, woo. So, but maybe, I hate to sound like a liberal, but it's okay. Maybe some of these things should be registered with a little sticker tag or something, and maybe some of these children under 18 years old should, with the cadet force and stuff, be able to give a little course, on a little course on safety and a little course on what would you do if you're going down to McCulloch and if somebody opens a business door and you run over something. I mean, there's just a lot of things they just don't feel like there's any sense in. I was there once. I know what it's like. So that's my spiel for the night. I'd really like to see some work done, and maybe even a map of the town, what's restricted to bicycles, what's open, or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council? Yeah, please. And if there's other folks that want to speak, let's line up. Yeah, we'll save ourselves, 30, 40 seconds each time. Yeah, please.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Steve Bicey, longtime resident. I would call myself a retread. I was here from 8 to 16 and moved away, and now have come back to enjoy Havasu at its finest, was what I believe. What makes it great is all the things to do in Havasu. And like when I was 8 to 16, I'd love to ride bikes. However, I didn't ride for like 40 years because apparently it's hard. So once they put electric on them again, I was all about it. So Havasu, I'd hate to see it take that away in whatever capacity. I've been trying to understand tonight. Been here an hour and a half or so. I'm really not sure what problem we're trying to solve. So we have rules in place. As far as I know, last gentleman mentioned, we have motorcycle laws that are in place. So what are we trying to solve with this? Human and non-human powered vehicles? Like what Brett said, are my tenny runners that? So what are the actual laws that we're trying to create? Is it just we're trying to address safety of children? Is that a parental thing? Or is that a city council thing? So again, I'm trying to understand after being a observing this for an hour and a half, what problem we're trying to solve, what rules and regulations, and understanding the verbiage that we're putting in place, making sure that it is consistent with state and federal laws, as opposed to something ad hoc. You know, I love to ride on the channel. I agree with 2 dogs in hand, where's a biker supposed to go? Or earbuds, you ring your bell, they still don't pull over. So what are the implications for that as we develop new laws against bikers or against other pleasure of the next month? So that's all I have to say. Any questions for me?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Would anyone else like to address the city council during call to the public or during this public hearing? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for some discussions and, direction on where we want to go. So as happens with any ordinance that we do in Lake Havasu City, is we have an introduction. That's what we're here to do tonight, gain feedback from citizens, users, and people that have comments on the item, make some adjustments to that based on that, give direction, then we come back for a final adoption at a subsequent meeting. So there's been a couple of things. I think one of them is just what it is we're doing here. So this is an ordinance that already exists. We're just amending the code. It doesn't work right now. It was built for when scooters became a thing, as the chief said, 2011. So now we're just updating that area. Nowhere in this ordinance does it say that we're restricting use at all. There is one section that does say that if this ordinance was adopted, that it would authorize the public works director to erect or place signs on any sidewalk, path, or roadway that's prohibiting the riding of bicycles. That language is in there under letter C, and we can have that discussion. Do we want to have that ability? And just for the record, the public works director does put up the other signs. So the speed limit signs are the ones that are put up. The no parking here, the school zone signs. Every sign you see is put up by the public works department in some respects. So that's where the language actually comes from. But there has been some discussion. I have no intention of taking away the ability for our residents to recreate on the island. Not one bit at all. I believe that if we change, but I also understand the challenges, Chief, that you mentioned between Class 1, Class 2, and all of those. I understand that as well. If our speed limit monitor is not going to pick up anything less than double digits, I understand that challenge too. 15 miles an hour was thrown out there. That's what we drive in the school zone. That's pretty fast in a school zone. So 15 miles an hour in the channel is a bit much. And I do everything but e-bike. So I run, I walk, I ride bicycles. I have rented an e-bike when I was on vacation, but I don't regularly do that or own one. But so I've done all these and have some experience in some of those areas. So if we were to change the definition of human powered, as proposed in this amendment to the ordinance, to that it would be movement accomplished or propelled by human power, such as walking, running, or by any vehicle or device which is designed and equipped to be propelled by human power, including a bicycle. Get rid of the words without assistance by a motor or a power unit. I think that would solve the issue for the assist. Those are the folks that are on the trike. Those are the people that you have to be using human power. You have to be moving the pedals in order for any of the assist to occur. I think that's a win. It never was our intention to take away an outdoor recreational opportunity for anyone. The signage conversation I've seen on social media and heard some things this evening. It doesn't always work. So there's signs out there, and I was just out on the island walking, or the island multi-use path this weekend, and there was bikes going the wrong way. Which, that happens. It's part of it. So an education program. One of the things I like the best is, Chief, you're going to go into the schools and educate our youth on it. I don't think this is just a youth problem. I think this is an everyone problem. There was a question or a comment about, I don't know what we're trying to solve. What we're trying to solve is the current ordinance that we have does not allow for the current technology that's being used for us to do any enforcement. And so we need to update that ordinance in some way. That's why this is an amendment to that area. I would encourage everyone that's passionate about this to go to our website and read what it is. The track changes are on here. It shows the current ordinance with cross throughs with what the proposed new language is. It's a very careful balance of trying to ensure that people have the ability to do what's right. And do the right thing with an eye on safety, and ensuring that people have the freedom to do what they want. We're trying to find that balance. And so, I mean, you heard even in many of the comments we heard this evening on testimony, there was contradictory statements. Like, I like it here, but I don't like it there. Or when I walk, I don't want it here, but when I ride, I want to be able to do this. I get it. There's different areas for different zones. So there's a couple of ways. I think if we take that without human power out of the definition of, or without assistance by a motor or power unit out of the human power, I think that solves 90% of the comments I heard here tonight. And then as far as, are there areas in our community that we don't want to allow bicycles? And if so, what are those areas? So there's two ways to handle that. We identify and say, we don't want bicycles in these areas. Or we give the authority to, based on our direction, to the city manager and his team to identify those areas. So, I mean, there's only two ways for us to be able to address that. But with that being said, I'll open up to my colleagues on council for questions or comments or thoughts, so we can get some piece of direction going forward on this ordinance. Councilmember Lynn?
Mr. Mayor, on the Public Works Director, I think it's just very vague to me. Like, if you just looked at this ordinance, didn't look at anything, and you just went to that, and the words saying the Public Works Director is authorized to erect or place signs on any sidewalk, path, or roadway prohibiting the riding of bicycles, yada, yada. To me, this is really leaving the council out of it. I would prefer if we did tonight or at the next meeting designate exactly what those spots look like. I don't feel comfortable giving that direction to the Public Works Director. And there's something against this director or the future one or whatever this. I just don't like this in the ordinance. I really like the idea about education. I think the video that we watched earlier was great. If we can get those more in the schools, because we had an accident just a few weeks ago with a young man that went through a mom's vehicle, and I saw the pictures afterward. I mean, it was devastating to the family that was involved in the accident, not just the child that ran into the car. If we can get some more education for that. I like the rules that we have with the lights and the reflectors, the helmets, all that for safety. I think it would be great to talk more to like our psychotherapy people that are more known for these things. I don't know a lot about electric bikes. I don't ride them, but I'd like to hear from the experts on what that looks like. I don't even know the term of the one vehicle. It's one vehicle. Yeah, I don't even know what that is. So I hate to make an ordinance that I don't even know, what that even covers. As for some of the verbiage, I agree with the one gentleman that was talking about some of the verbiage. It maybe needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Before we adopt it. And maybe I don't know if we want to go through each line as a council, because I mean, it's not that big of words, but maybe clear up some of the verbiage in there.
Well, yeah, I think we need to know what that means. Yeah. So what concerns you? So
I don't know. Maybe and the gentleman was up here and he listed a couple things.
Yeah, so we're going to have to look at Title 28 to see. I mean, nothing against you, Don, but your words, I mean, we need to look and read and see what it is. Yeah, sorry, we can't have, you had the opportunity, but we have Title 28, so we'll have to look at that and see. But the chief, during his initial introduction, mentioned that state law was it vague? Did you use the word? And that it's
very vague. We created the wording in this ordinance. It is based off of state law, and it's just making it easier to understand what state law is. We're not changing anything related to state law. It already exists. A lot of these things in here already exist. We could enforce it by state statute if we wanted to on a person riding a bicycle that runs a stop sign, but that's a violation. So this just spells it out even more clear as far as what those regulations are, where sometimes Arizona revised statutes are tough to read. You almost have to be a lawyer sometimes to understand it. So we're trying to do this in a way that now we can promote this and educate our public on what this means.
Mayor, please keep in mind also the state statutes it's not like they were just done last year. And so they're not necessarily ahead of the curve on some of these items. So we're taking the state language and we're also combining that with the language from other cities that have more recently put restrictions or prohibit or regulations in place. And so we're trying to take all of those things and blend them together to what makes the best sense for Lake Havasu City. So we're looking at what the state statute says. We're looking at what other cities and other places are doing. And we're trying to come up with what works best for Lake Havasu City.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to be more practical with this. I mean, we are trying to be bike friendly for our seniors, for our youth. There's a lot of people that are using those modes of transportation because they got their driver's license taken away, and they're just trying to get to work. I just think focusing more on the education, because enforcement is going to be challenging, and I don't want to make it like we're the bad guys up here. So just if we make this ordinance a little bit more, I'm going to even say it's like child friendly, so that everybody understands it.
And I think that's what, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Chief, but I think that's what we did, right? So we took the words to make sure that the vague language of the state law or state statute encompassed with other cities and towns to make it very clear on what that would be. I mean, education is really the key to this whole thing. So we also heard this evening from some of the testimonies that we can engage with the bike shops and the rental facilities to help educate the other users as well. That's another great avenue. I mean, at the end of the day, I am not interested in taking away anyone's ability to do anything, but how do we carefully manage all of the different uses that are here? Great comments about lack of infrastructure and we need more. Great, but we can't solve that right now, but we can start in the direction to get there. But how in the meantime do we balance all of the different uses that are there? And so that's what, again, this is an amendment to the code. I mean, this is already code. The outdated code is in here if we took no action on this item. So I mean, does that make sense, Councilmember Lynn? I don't know what else to do to the language other than, I mean, if we have specific feedback, like I would like to take out without the assistance by the use of a motor or a power. Is there any other language that you're not happy with?
I'd like to hear from the other council members.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Councilmember.
Maybe I'll go next.
Yeah, Councilmember Dolan.
I like the fact that we're updating the code, catching up with that. I'm concerned. I think if we are going to limit any usage or anything, that needs to be a council decision, not up to the staff. So like I said, in that case, I don't see us, it sounds like the island is a great place for biking. I wouldn't want to see any changes to the island. A little torn on the channel, but like I said, I think it kind of comes down to the speed limit. I think if we can regulate it with speed limit and start with that rather than take the bikes out of there. Because to me, the hardest thing about this is when I think about the e-bikes, I think about that kid that's going 30 miles an hour on a coma and blows right through the stop sign and doesn't care until he hits somebody. There's really nothing in this rules that is gonna change that. It's just, and I think we need to get out and educate those kids. And, if we need to write something in there about the Siron bikes or, that level, but it sounds like we have a lot of good actors that are really utilizing their bikes in a safe way. So, I'd like to maybe have us limit with the, kind of like the pilot program. Let's set it up with the speed limits on the island and in Rotary and in the channel and see how that comes. And if we have to come back and we still have problems, then maybe we can make changes from there. And then, like I said, I just would like to see that if we do make anything off limits, that it be a council decision, not a staff decision. That's my thoughts.
Thank you. So just to clarify, because again, we have words in here and we're trying to make the words make sense. So the concern that you have then is as far as words that are in front of us would be letter C, the Public Works Director is authorized.
Yes.
Those words need to come out and be replaced with if we want to make any restrictions. Right now, there are no restrictions in this language. There's nothing in this language right now that says we're restricting the channel or the island at all. Those are headlines. Those are social media. That's not in the words of the ordinance. So if we want those words to be in here, we need to make those words be in here. So, that's letter C is where it's at.
Let me add where we're going with that. So this just gives authorization to the director to erect those signs, but it was always the intent that city council is the one that's going to direct whatever areas will prohibit. So we can change this language. That's completely fine, but we don't see putting those, if there are any prohibitions, if there's any regulations, we don't see putting that in this code. We can do something like a resolution that sets up a program and maybe a pilot program like you're mentioning that shows those areas if we go that direction. But it was never that the council is just going to adopt this and then somebody else, a staff member, is just going to go through and start putting up signs. It was always going to be at council's direction. You're going to tell us where those signs go. That's where we're going to put those signs. So we can change that language to make that more clear if you're not comfortable with that. But it was always, you're going to decide as council where those regulations are going to be, and we can adopt that by a resolution, or we can do it by your direction, whatever you feel most comfortable with. But that's the intent. I don't want to get carried away with that. If we need to change that language to make that clear, we can absolutely do that. But I don't want to keep talking about that. That's not really an issue.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Ms. Gary. And that's why it's written that the Public Works Director is authorized to do it. Like, that's not normally how that would be.
Yeah, you're going to find that language throughout our code in a whole bunch of other ways of putting up signs and directing people to do that. So it's not intended. It's being taken in a wrong way.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Moses?
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that. I've always understood that everything in here is what the council wants. And so if the Public Works Director is placing signs that we talk about as a council and does things on behalf of us, then that needs to be in there. Because that's who we're designating to put those up. If I don't want those signs there, I go to Jess. I go, hey, Jess, this doesn't make sense. Everybody's talking to me. This doesn't make sense. Talk to the other council members, see if it makes sense to them too. And then when 4 people say, hey, this doesn't make sense, Jess says, okay, Public Works Director, we got to change these signs and we got to do something different. And so that's how I read that. I understand your concerns, some people's concerns about that. I'm okay putting in, the Public Works Director, is authorized to erect signs that the council approves of, or whatever. But to me, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make a difference. This reads exactly what we need to do because we have 7 people up here to tell everybody who listen to you to tell everybody in the city how to do things. So it just doesn't make a difference. Sure. We're here actually, really, this really got the ball rolling because we've had some really, really bad accidents with kids. So somebody asked why we're here, what we're doing. We're here because kids are getting hurt. And we need to come up with some common sense rules. And common sense isn't necessarily common anymore. And so the education is the biggest part. We're going to end up talking about, specific areas that you've all addressed. But really, this is here because we need to put some rules out there. Not necessarily new rules. We just need to put together an informational package to address both the kids and adults. I'll be one of them. I've ridden an e-bike and I'm like, I don't think I should be on the sidewalk. Like I just flat out didn't know. So I stayed on the road. So just to figure out some of those problems and get the information out there so everybody knows so that we can all operate on the same rules. I'm going to plead to everybody up here. When we start making restrictions on areas around town, I just want to remind you guys of the magic of Havasu. We're here because we all like a little bit of freedom. We need to allow people to go anywhere they want to go with safety in mind. And so in my mind, I know this is a tall task, Chief, but it just comes down to speed. It doesn't matter. Bike, rollerblades, if somebody's going 30 miles per hour on a sidewalk, that's dangerous. And it doesn't matter what you're on. If I'm running 30 miles per hour, which will never, ever happen, that's dangerous, right? And so it's those common sense things. Do you want me to speak to the certain areas that we're talking about, or do you want to just talk about this and then we can talk about the...
Oh, yeah. If there's areas right now, there's nothing in this language about restricting anything as far as location.
Okay. So as far as the locations go, the island walking path was brought up a lot tonight. And I think if we can come up with a speed limit on there, that's a little more wide open. We can look at like a 15 mile per hour speed limit on there. If you want to go faster than that, great. Go on the road. It's right next door. And then you're going to be going more the speed of traffic anyways. As far as the channel boardwalk, I will never ever be okay with the words banning, which that's been brought up that's not in here. I don't think that's what anybody wants to do up here, but we just need to come up with the problem areas. I agree. Like I've ridden my bike on the boardwalk, my e-bike on the boardwalk, and there's a little choke point right in front of London Bridge Resort where I'm like, holy smokes, it's been a while. You know what I mean? Like this is tight. And so we're like, that's a part where maybe you got to get off and walk. And then before that, when there's a bunch of, businesses, okay, maybe we're at a 10 mile per hour since that's what we can pick up. Same with Rotary. I would also make a suggestion that maybe we need to paint lanes on the boardwalk so that, I don't know, I've been a walker on there too, and you just kind of meander and you're looking, it's beautiful and you're doing whatever. But if you add a yellow stripe down the middle, that it makes it, tricks our brain into staying to the right of that, right? And so you can eliminate some of those things. But I don't know. I think there's some really, really easy common sense things here where we can all share the road together and enjoy our freedoms of living in Havasu.
Do you have any additional comments, Vice Mayor?
No, I mean, if rental bikes get out of control, we can talk about rental bike videos and, stuff like that. And I'm sure when we start, if our COPs start citing or anything, we can make note of if they're local or not, or if they're on a rental bike or not. But that's down the road. That's as we start moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Campbell.
Mayor, first I want to know what an electric cooler is. I've seen those guys driving down on the road. Have you seen that? Yeah. They're on a cooler going down to the park. I thought that was funny. I like 99%. I'm going to say 95% of this ordinance I love. I think it's very informative. I think it gives us direction. I think it cleans up an old ordinance. I am confused about the very beginning definitions. It says in section B, number 2, first page, it says shall operate as close as practicable, close as, say the word, please. Practical? I can't say, it doesn't say that, does it? Captable. It is. That cracked. Okay, whatever. You guys get it. See, there we go. Common sense words. What about practical? Practicably. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, as close as practical to the right-hand curb edge of roadway or edge of designated bicycle path or lane. That kind of goes back to what Mr. Miller said, which is, what about businesses on the sidewalks there? Do you really want them right up to the right-hand side, letting pedestrians through? Or are we going to just, we have to discuss that. I think that's important.
That's a good point.
Especially because as we were dealing with traffic issues earlier on McCulloch, and we're building a downtown catalyst down there, I've always said, I think there should be a whole bunch of bike racks down there anyways, because as traffic gets worse and worse, it would eliminate a lot of traffic issues if people could literally drive down there. Not sure how to figure all that. I'm concerned about that one. Of course, I don't like the verbiage of the Public Works Director authorized. I kind of like the presentation we got earlier, again, with the transportation portion, the parking portion. You saw she circled it. You saw a picture of the sign that she wanted in that area, how many signs she was going to put. Well, before we just write this verbiage, and I understand it's probably plopped in almost a lot of our codes, but this is just a little too vague for me. I know this is a conversation piece. What I would like to see is a map, like Vice Mayor Moses said. Let me see what you're talking about. What does that look like? Human powered, non-human powered. I want to see what we're doing there. I truly like the speed limit in the channel area, because I do agree with the lady that was saying that. I too, when it's dark out or something, the island can be a little spooky riding, but going through the channel in my case, I used to live at the condos down there, so it was really nice. And I just kind of was careful of the kids because I'm just that person. So I would like to keep the channel in there. I do like your comment about possibly putting some sort of lane, and then again, you could start it with signage. You don't even have to write a lane down the middle. You can maybe start it at the channel saying, please, if you're on a bicycle, please stay to the right, pedestrians stay to the left, be mindful, use your bells, pay attention, to your surroundings. We all know that. So I think some amazing conversation is happening here today. And the only other one that I just have a hard time understanding what it means is, again, it's that number 7 on B. This is page 3. Yes, page 3, where it says, and I'm going to read it out loud, and I'm having a hard time understanding it. and many have brought it up, no person shall ride or operate a bicycle, electric bicycle, or other human or non-human powered device in any direction except that permitted by vehicular traffic. Hypercolon kind of thing. Provide the bicycle, electric bicycle, or other human and non-human powered device may proceed either way where signs or pavement markings on the sidewalk, bikeway, or bicycle lanes appear designated in two-way traffic. I don't know. I'm just, it's, what's the new word? Word salad. I don't even know what I'm really saying there. So if we can clear that up so at least I can understand it, that would help. And other than that, I'm very happy with a majority of this ordinance. And I know that many people would love to support a consistent marketing plan that can be distributed through the CVB. Maybe they can assist us with this, help us to educate. I love the video earlier. That's fantastic. Get it into every one of the bike places. And I know it's a huge tourist draw because my family is all coming into town and they're like, where do we get e-bikes? Because we want to go around that beautiful island again. You know, they're already asking. So to say that I don't want any more enforcement that we have to pull you over and look at your driver's license to see if you're local or not riding a bike. But the other one that I liked, and I was in a chamber meeting today, and one of the ladies there said that there is a e-bike class that you can take. Does anybody know about this? And so I would assume that if by any chance any of the violators, the problem children, we can always send them to their parents where they're going to have to write a fine. But most of these people that are riding these bikes, their parents just will write another check for their, I'm going to say bratty little kid. But anyhow, how do we put in enforcement that says if you get any violations on the road or anything against these ordinances that we have in place, that you will be subject to taking one of these classes? And nothing upsets a kid more than that is having to sit through a classroom to be told, you know, you're going to sit here because you don't know how to ride your bike very well. Okay. So it's kind of the detention thing. So I think, a little bit more than just a fine for the parents. Of course, that's important too. I'm responsible for my children, especially if they're under the age of 18 and they're running right in the back of somebody else's car. You know, that's on me as a parent. And, so I get that, but I think I would like to see something with an educational piece back on the violator. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Campbell. Councilmember Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right. If you'll all indulge me a little bit, I'm actually going to quote a few people that I have a lot of respect for. And the first quote is going to be, there's two things people hate. They hate the way things are, and they hate change. It's absolutely true. And the other one is, if it's predictable, it's preventable. And you've all heard me say that a lot over the last 8 years, and we have a problem. And it's been noticed by all of you just based on what you've had to say today that, yeah, we have a problem. We need to fix it, but we all have different ideas on how that needs to be fixed. Even Ethan and Xavier are two of our students who came to the city, kids that said, we've got a problem. We need to fix this. So, and that's what's happened here is we've put together some amendments to this ordinance that we already have. We're not superseding state law. We're enhancing what's already there. It is written in legalese. There's three things to remember when we're doing things like this. And it's engineering, education, and enforcement in that specific order. So we start with the engineering. That's in putting together the rules that we have. We're putting together these rules right here. Then it comes the education part. And I agree, no child is ever going to understand what it is that we're reading. They're not even going to read it themselves. So the education part comes in with that, and that's where the police department has those pamphlets. They do bicycle rodeos, and part of that is with e-bikes. We can also work with Go Lake Havasu, put together a pamphlet for education for the people that are the tourists on what our rules are. This is going to make some changes. I think there's a big misconception where people think that we're trying to outlaw e-bikes or restrict e-bikes, and that's not what we're doing. We're just making rules that are more important. And so for my third quote, this ordinance isn't really to restrict things. It's a common courtesy rules. that we need to follow when we're doing things on the road or on our bicycle paths. The chief said that right from the beginning, common courtesy, rules of the road. A lot of the stuff we're talking about, like driving on the right side of the sidewalk, those are rules of the road. It's always on the right side. If you start making, well, it's on the right side here, but if you're going to go down here, it's got to be on the left-hand side. That's just going to confuse people. Rules of the road are the right-hand side. We already have state statutes that say you have to stop and yield the right of way to these vehicles or those vehicles at intersections. We're not changing any of that. We're not putting every single definition in this that has to do with vehicles. It's just the ones that pertain to the issues that we're having. As we said, Councilmember Lynn talked about the young man that was hit on a bicycle, and a car did not hit him. He hit a car. It was not the car driver's fault, but there's still a lot of trauma that goes along with that. And most people want to obey the laws. If we put this ordinance out there, all it does is enhance current state law. It doesn't restrict anybody from going anywhere. As the mayor said, I would definitely encourage everyone to please, before the next meeting where this gets adopted, go on the city's website and pick up a copy of this. It's very important that that you understand exactly what this says, because there is a lot of misconception out there. I want to thank the city staff. I've been working with the city manager on this for quite some time. I saw a couple elderly people actually get hit during Winterfest last year. It's not just kids that are speeding down sidewalks and kids that are getting hurt. Elderly people walking on sidewalks, when they get hit or clipped, it hurts them. And I want to say thank you to all the people that come in here to give us this information. I truly appreciate the fact that you're here. This is actually the third time that I can recall since I've been sitting up here that we've had bicycle discussions. And this is the first time that we've actually had people that ride bicycles come and talk to us. The other times it's too hot here. We don't need bicycle lanes. We don't need bicycle paths. You're wasting the city's money. Don't put this stuff in here. And then we don't hear from the bicycle community. So please, we're really happy that you're here. I would say, keep going on that and continue to come when we're bringing these things up. We would love to have more bike paths. All it takes is money. And then, a couple of years ago, I just found this really interesting. Some of you may remember there was a company that wanted to come and rent scooters here, electric scooters to use around downtown. And how many people came here to tell us they don't want electric scooters or any electric conveyances like that on our city streets? And here we're exactly the opposite. I just thought that was very interesting. There was something else I wanted to bring up, and now I can't remember what it was. So, yeah, we had to write this as a legal document because this is how judges, if somebody does get cited, it has to be written in that legal document way. But that doesn't mean that's the way we educate people. So, with that, I think that's everything. But
if you remember, you can just bring it up at the next meeting.
I'm sorry. This is my last meeting.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember Lane. All right. So now we're at the point where we can entertain a motion. A few of the highlights, just so we can go over and summarize what we're doing. Again, is amending the current ordinance as it exists today that doesn't give us the abilities to do a lot of things. Councilmember Campbell, you had mentioned the number 8, that no person shall operate a bicycle, electric bicycle or human or non-human powered device in any direction except that's permitted by vehicle traffic. What that is saying, it's actually one of the points that I brought up, again, just using the legal component of it. I live above the high school, so I'm driving through that every morning when the kids are going to school, and they're literally going in every which direction. So they're not driving with traffic. They're coming at you. They're driving with you, and they're sometimes darting across the street. So that's just addressing that. So it's saying that if you're going to ride a bicycle, motorized or non-motorized, that you need to just follow the traffic rules. That's what that's saying. So I know a lot of our discussion today dealt with very specific portions of the community like Rotary Park or the Island Walking Path, but this is a citywide ordinance. So this takes into account our roadways, our sidewalks, our multi-use paths, all of those different components. But that's what those words are saying. Yeah, please.
To that. Yes. The part that confuses me is the part, like I'm thinking sidewalks, like vehicular traffic is going, I'm going to use that, up McCulloch. And I'm coming out of Herbs, okay? And I have to go the way of the traffic, or can I go back down to the crosswalk to cut across? That's the part that's getting me confused a little bit, that it looks as if, do you have to follow vehicular traffic? Well, you're obviously not if you're going to turn around and go this way, or you're cutting across, going all the way up, you're cutting across the street again to come back down, to hit another crosswalk to get back over to where you want.
Yeah,
and
perfect.
Right now, I think that's what I visually was concerned about, is what does that look like? Because it kind of seems like it would be a sidewalk, and that sidewalk may be really inconvenient and put more people in the roadway and in crosswalks to get around. And I think we'll have just that many more violations.
Yeah. So the part I didn't read yet was the next sentence talks about the sidewalks. So
yeah.
And Councilmember Lane.
Somebody that enforced traffic laws for answer the question. What that means is if you're on the road, you have to go the direction that the vehicles are going. When you're on the sidewalk, cars don't go on the sidewalk, so there's no lane marking, so you can go either way on the sidewalk. But when you're in the road, you have to follow the vehicular traffic. Got it?
That makes a whole lot more sense to me now. So you can follow pedestrian traffic, which is any which way you want to go. All right, great.
Oh, Mayor, council members, if there are portions in here that are confusing or you want us to try to rewrite, just highlight them and you can email them to me or drop them off to me and we can work on those specific sections, bringing them back. I mean, if you don't have a problem with the concept of them or issues and you just want us to work on the verbiage, we can do that. If you just highlight or let me know those sections.
Thank you.
So, excuse me, Mayor, real quickly, then why don't we just have them take it back? They've heard from all the constituents. They've heard from all of us. See if they can just clean it up a little bit. And we don't need to pass it in 2 weeks. Like you said, this is like your third or fourth conversation we've had with bicycles. Let's clean them up a little bit. Let all the constituents take a look at the ordinance itself. Maybe they can send us some feedback. We can send you some feedback and give us, maybe we'll get a better ordinance out of it and less confusion in the end. So I would rather discuss almost tabling this under the great direction I think that we gave them, unless you want more.
Mr. Knudsen?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And this process as we introduce ordinances. So council is not taking action on this item tonight, other than to provide feedback, which we're getting here today. The feedback we hear from the public, and then as the feedback we hear through council, will modify the direction, the language, and everything that's here. So we're, as staff, we're intently listening, trying to decipher exactly what makes the most sense. Where's consensus coming on council, and what does that mean in terms of impacting words on paper? To Ms. Gary's point, if we could help us out with some of the clarification. I think there's some confusion within the language about just the difference between a sidewalk and a roadway. So maybe we could take a stab at that and identifying two different sections, because there's a lot of confusion coming out of that. Councilmember Campbell, you talked about B2 and on the right edge, we're talking about roads. So, and I think the confusion there is that maybe we're talking about sidewalks, that doesn't make any sense. But if you're talking about a road, then yeah, we want that bike or the electric bike on the right lane of the right road lane. So one thing that I don't think that we can do, so I'm looking at listening to the will of the people and the will of the council, but we also want to put things in place that are doable, enforceable, and so forth and so much. We talked about early on in this process, Chief and then the team, and we sat around and talked about, okay, how do we approach this? Looked at other cities and so forth. The first thing they thought of, the chief thought of, the rest of the team thought of, was speed, because where the complaints are coming from the public is that we're walking on a walking path, whether it's the Island Walking Path or the Channel or whatever it is, and somebody just flew by at 30 miles an hour and scared the crap out of us. I'm a senior, and I was almost seriously injured. I'm a mother, and I have a stroller, and that could have been a disastrous sequence of events. That's really the impetus of where all of this started. Is fast electric bikes that are speeding down the multi-use path and causing close accidents with pedestrians. That's it. And we take a look at the old ordinance that we have in place, and it talks about motorized skateboards. And you can ride them in certain portions of the community, but not other portions of the community. How does a kid, even back then on a motorized skateboard, and I understand kind of the approach, but how do you determine then now after that code's in place, we expect our kids to read the code to determine where they can ride the electric bikes or the motorized skateboards or whatever else. So we're trying to find a way to address that super quick electric bike that's whizzing by the pedestrians, causing accidents. And how do we make this as clear as possible to the pedestrians and the e-bike and the human powered bike users within the community? So that's where we're all started. And I think that we're on the same page from that perspective. Now, I think we have to have more conversations in terms of where do we want those whizzing e-bikes to go and not go, and do they belong in the channel? Do they belong on the island walking path? Do they belong in Rotary Park? So that is really be super helpful in terms of whether it happens at this meeting, future meeting. We can intro the ordinance tonight, get some feedback. We can come back and then have more feedback and whatever that looks like, and as many times as the council wants to do this. And then, sorry to finish my point. Last thing I'll say is it's super hard for us to identify speeds. So that the chief talked about that they went out there with a radar gun and then they tried to hit some electric bikes. And what does that mean? We can't regulate speeds unless there's a technology that we're unaware of, and maybe something exists, and maybe somebody in the public can point at something and say, this is how you do it. I'd prefer it if it wasn't an officer that was standing behind it, because our officers have a lot of work in the community to do, than stand on an island walking path with a radar gun, checking speeds of electric bikes. So I think but that's where we started. If we could somehow identify speeds, then let's do that. But then you start like, okay, what's the practicality of that? Who's going to do that and how are they going to do it? And if we're talking about our officers with radar guns on the multi-use path, then they're busy. There's an incident that occurred a little bit ago here in the community that they're jumping to make sure that our citizens here are safe. That's what they do. Okay. And so I'll just step off. I kind of jumped on my soapbox there a little bit too, but I'm standing up for the officers and for Chief's team on that one too. Unless there's technology out there that I'm unaware of, speeds are a really difficult one for us to implement and enforce.
Thank you, Mr. Knudsen. Yeah, so I think what we have here tonight, we've had lots of testimony from the public. Again, thank you for being here and sharing that. Please go read the actual ordinance. I think if we introduce the ordinance today, that'll allow us the opportunity to incorporate all of the changes that we talked about here this evening that the team is listening to. It'll come back for another read. At that point, we actually have Councilmember-elect Diaz with us as well, and we can talk about different locations on if there are any restrictions, if we think there should be restrictions or shouldn't be restrictions at that time. But I would encourage us to continue to move forward by introducing this ordinance so that we can continue to do that work to bring this to the final component. There also is going to be different folks that are going to be joining the conversations when we come back. Not only will we have our new colleague, Councilmember-elect Diaz with us, but we also are going to have our winter visitors and those folks that will be here as well that have not been able to be a part of it, that potentially aren't here, which are users of all of these spaces for different reasons. So, Councilmember Dolan? Yes.
I'd like to make a motion.
Please.
I move to introduce ordinance number 24-1350, amending Lake Havasu City Code Chapter 10.08, Rules of the Road, to update or establish regulations regarding bicycles, electric bicycles, human and non-human powered vehicles, personal assistive mobility devices, skateboards, scooters, and skates.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Dolan, a second from Vice Mayor Moses. Is there any additional discussion? We're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Council, and thank you to the public for the input. Definitely appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 7.6 is cooperative purchase of emergency medical equipment, supplies, and annual expenditures over $50,000 with Bound Tree Medical LLC. Chief Palafis.
Honorable Mayor, Council, before you is the city has a cooperative agreement with Bound Tree Medical through the city of Tempe. It's good until June 30th of 2025. This agreement allows us to procure emergency medical supplies for our emergency medical program. In response to the implementation of our 911 medical ground transport, and considering the demand that we have on that service, it's necessary to acquire this equipment to stock our ambulances. The procurement of these additional medical supplies from Boundtree is anticipated to exceed the $50,000 annual threshold. Therefore, the fire department is asking for approval for the purchase to require medical equipment and supplies from Bowntrees, ensuring the total expenditures does not exceed our allocated budget for fiscal year 24-25. If you have any questions, I appreciate a short conversation if you want to have one.
Did Chief Falafis just say a short conversation?
I did.
Yeah.
I was getting pressure from the gallery.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some public works people here in town right now that want to go to bed. I guarantee you.
Any questions for the chief on this item? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Yeah. All right, seeing now, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion. Yeah, Councilmember Lane?
I move to approve the cooperative purchase of emergency medical equipment supplies with Boundtree Medical LLC and authorize expenditures exceeding $50,000 up to the amount allocated and available in the budget for fiscal year 24-25.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane, a second from Councilmember Dolan. Is there any additional discussion? We're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Item 7.7 is agreement and purchase of Flex Suite and Command Central Cloud Hybrid from Motorola Solutions. Chief Sterling.
Good evening again. Who knew that I would be talking more than Pete tonight? I have this packet we're going to go through page by page this evening, so please bear with me. So first of all, the purpose of tonight is for us to asking to award the purchase of Flex Suite and Command Central Cloud Hybrid from along with a customer agreement from Motorola Solutions to replace our current computer-aided dispatch known as CAD, records management system known as RMS, and jail management solution known as JMS software. Our current CAD, RMS, JMS has currently been utilized since 2013, and it's a Windows-based format. Of course, over time, with technology, there's been significant enhancements to these type of systems that our current platform cannot keep pace with. I will say before we get into this PowerPoint, we just have a real short one, trust me. But I want to emphasize the research that went into this project. We've been working on this for the past 4 years diligently with personnel from the police department, the fire department, and our admin services information technology division. We've been a huge team on this because lessons learned from our prior purchase. And we all knew that we needed to do better when we vetted our next vendor. And so after multiple meetings, demos from a variety of vendors in the industry, we decided the Flex Suite offered by Motorola Solutions would be the best best solution for our organization. So getting to the PowerPoint real quick. Tonight I have with me Lieutenant Michael Terranoni. He's leading up the police department's team and has been coordinating the efforts behind this, and we'll hear from him tonight as well. And then, of course, our CIO, Jonathan Basquette, from the IT department, and he's been instrumental over the years with this as well. Next slide, please.
Yeah, before you go, Chief, that's actually our 911 dispatch center. That picture is real. That's here for those watching.
All right, so I kind of went over it real brief, but what is CAD, RMS, and JMS? So our computer-aided dispatching is really, that's where all of our calls, 911 and non-emergency calls, come into our 911 center. From the police department side of it, we have approximately 50,000 calls for service per year. The fire department adds up and above 10,000 per year. Every call is logged into this CAD system, providing detail of the call, the location, caller information, call times, mapping, GPS. You can imagine everything's there. Recordings, everything's comes through that CAD system. That then translates into our report management system, right? The RMS side houses over 65,000 police reports. And of course, there's legal requirements from a records retention standpoint. That's not counting what the fire department has, a separate management system for their records, but it integrates into our system from our CAD system. Next slide, please. So just kind of a real nuts and bolts from the public safety and action piece. You know, you see from the top slide, top left, dispatch receives the call, either it results in a police, fire, or both. Dispatch, our responders respond to this. In the meantime, they're getting information sent to their mobile data terminals in their cars or the fire trucks that has call information, the call details, the maps, etc. It goes on to the next phase of where our officers end up completing the investigation, where that's our reports. This is the admin side, the not so fun side of the job, right? On the reports, evidence entry, jail management, all handled currently in our current platform under multiple modules, all right? And they don't all necessarily speak well with each other. Next, we talk about the log and evidence piece because it's not uncommon that our officers would seize some type of property, even for safekeeping, and we have to log that into a system. And so that's another database that we have to go into to be able to track the life cycle of property and evidence. Then move down to if a case ended up resulting in the arrest of someone, then they would be a guest at our jail, and detention officers would complete, along with the officer, the booking process. Includes computer entry, fingerprints, photographs. A lot of this data is stored in that JMS module, and that includes the housing of people, where they're at in the facility when they get checked out. And so always managing where those individuals are within our system. Next side of that is, of course, all the case reports. Everything gets collected, documentation, property, vehicle information, all entered into this records management system. That's the housing of this. That's where all the information goes and is stored, again, based on public records retention laws. And we have to keep things for a certain amount of years or time frames. And of course, the last phase is investigations, result in having to dive into these different databases and collect information, you know, looking for people, vehicles, anything that's relevant, associates of people, everything in these databases. And again, talking about our current database, those are all in separate modules, and there's a lot of digging that has to go into that fact. Next slide is talking about our current system challenges. This is where I wanted to bring up Lieutenant Michael Terranoni, who's been, again, overseeing it from the police department standpoint, and talk some of the current challenges that we're experiencing.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I thank you for the opportunity to speak about the challenges that we're facing with our current CAD system and our RMS system. So our dedicated staff members have been working with these systems for several years, and they've often been satisficing, which is they've been making do with a solution that doesn't fully meet their needs anymore. And it's becoming increasingly clear that these workarounds are no longer sustainable. So I just wanted to provide some brief key issues that are directly impacting our efficiency and effectiveness as a department. First one being there's a lack of integration between certain systems. And we talked about the property and evidence piece, but this is one example of our property and evidence data is not integrated with the RMS system. So officers are required to enter the same information twice, one into an RMS system and then another into a separate system for property tracking. This redundancy wastes valuable time and increases the likelihood of errors. Another key point would be that, so data research for our employees can be cumbersome. Our officers face significant challenges when trying to access critical information. They must navigate through multiple systems, many of which are not accessible on mobile devices unless they're connected to a wired internet connection. This lack of mobile access slows down their ability to retrieve and review information while in the field, which could affect operational capabilities. Another point being that we have legal compliance challenges. And that's one of the things that the chief touched on. So as a law enforcement agency, we have strict obligations to capture and report detailed data as it relates to criminal incidents. So unfortunately, our current RMS system is hindering our ability to meet these requirements efficiently. Officers and record staff are forced to spend excessive time correcting technical errors, which not only impacts our compliance with federal guidelines, but also slows down critical processes. Another point being that our traffic citations and crash reports don't efficiently integrate with our RMS system. So the software we use to process traffic citations and crash reports doesn't integrate seamlessly with our RMS. So this causes frequent discrepancies in the data, and our record staff have to manually check and correct reports and citations daily, and it leads to unnecessary duplication of effort and delays in document processing. Another point being that we have delays in the system in and of itself. So our RMS, our JMS, and our mobile field reporting systems are all each hosted on separate servers. So this fragmentation leads to delays in processing reports and makes it harder for officers and record staff to access and share critical information. And these systems don't work well for accessibility across different devices, which exacerbates the issue. And the last point I'll bring up is we have system reliability problems. The reliability of our CAD and RMS systems is a growing concern. We experience unexpected system shutdowns during operations, which disrupts our workflow and undermines confidence in the technology itself. Additionally, the GPS tracking for our officers fails intermittently, which affects our ability to track their locations in real time. With everything I kind of mentioned, as the version of these systems that we're using nears its end of life, technical support is also becoming less responsive. And these ongoing issues are not only frustrating for our dedicated staff, but they also have a direct impact on our operations and our ability to serve the public effectively. And with that, I will introduce our CIO, Jonathan Basquette. He can talk more about the IT concerns and some of the challenges that we're facing on the IT side.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Let's throw some more acronyms out, shall we? All right. So I'm going to briefly discuss some of the areas lacking in the existing system that are much improved in what we're proposing. Those areas are system security, functionality, system support, and reliability. As you may know, IT security is the utmost importance for us, my team. The system proposed was developed for public safety entities across the nation. Its security was designed to meet new federal, state, and security requirements. CJIS, Criminal Justice Information Systems, is the regulatory behind those. During the demo process, my team was able to test the security and approved how it works. It meets our needs. Functionality-wise, that's a big improvement that was needed in the new system. IT worked with subject matter experts from both police and fire for many months. I would say it was 3 to 5 months. They went, documented all the gaps in the current system. They developed requirements and also documented needs of what they want in the future, nice to haves. These requirements were used to not only score during the demo process, but compare and contrast the systems. Of course, the system we're requesting was scored the highest, of course. But there was a lot of discussions about the new system, about how it was going to allow users to be more effective. It was going to increase their efficiencies, reduce redundancies, and really allow them to look for better ways of proactiveness going forward. I really feel that's the big step going forward, is how do we become more of a proactive team, proactive city, and allow our officers to be officers instead of doing redundant work, passing data on. They re-enter data, it goes to the next person, and they re-enter more data. That's really the issues that they're fighting today. And then the last point is system support reliability. That's really on the IT side of things. With a large system, there's a significant impact on IT. Premise-based systems, which are systems that are stored on-site, which is what we currently have, requires monthly outages, support, and unknown maintenance cycles. As the lieutenant said, there's certain issues with the current system running end of life. It has outages and things like that we're constantly chasing. To help mitigate those long-term effects, supporting the system this large, Spillman, who we're looking at and who we're bringing to you today, they're offering a hybrid system initially. And what a hybrid system does is it lives part in the cloud and part on-premise in our data center. There's going to be mobile features that are going to be hybrid in the cloud. There's going to be analytics that are in the cloud. But one of the benefits to this in the contract is that over the next 5 years, all of the major modules are going to go to cloud-based. That's going to be giving us full 100% uptime in the cloud across multiple data centers. Would it be nice to have that now? Yes. But unfortunately, that system currently doesn't exist that meet our needs. But they are moving toward that, and it has been guaranteed that within 5 years, it's spelled out in our contract that those will be released. Based on this information, both IT and our functional users are positive that this system will help us be more effective, more efficient today, and we can grow into it tomorrow. That's really all I have. I will turn it back over to Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both, Lieutenant Tardoni and Jonathan Baskett. I appreciate you guys. So next slide. And one thing I'll highlight, I mentioned at the bottom, that last bullet was the area of frustration. If you guys don't recall, the last two council retreats that we've gone to, planning sessions, I'd mentioned this as an area of frustration for especially our first line users of the system, the redundancy of having to add information into multiple modules, very frustrating. And so you're hearing some of those things here tonight. And so ultimately what we're looking for is to be able to modernize our CAD RMS JMS system. Some of these things have already been highlighted. Next one, please. Go ahead and go through one more. There we go. All right. So the centralized database, having everything in one location to be able to access information. The integration piece is huge, especially being at the end of life. We have a lot of different pieces of software that integrate into our systems. Auto tagging for our body cameras. There's a long list. We talked about any type of software that helps us with increasing response times, integrating with some type of software the fire department has. This will allow us to stay updated on those type of workflows. What's key about this platform is that we're not the only one in the state of Arizona. There's multiple agencies that utilize this already, where we were on the island with what we're currently using. So sometimes support, we weren't a priority. Well, this is different now. We have a lot of agencies, all of our surrounding agencies now, Mojave County, La Paz, Kingman, Bullhead, DPS for the state, they're on this system. And so ultimately that would at some point enable us to be able to share information a little bit more seamlessly. So that's going to be a huge factor as well. So I won't hit on the efficiency more than that because we've hit on that quite a bit. Next slide, please. More bringing some key things to this. Lieutenant Tardoni talked about the legal requirements. That's our NIBRS, again, another acronym, but that's the National Incident-Based Reporting System that we're required to follow based on the FBI and statistics. It's a nightmare because of our current system and all the manual labor it has to go into ensuring that we're meeting that with our current system is very difficult. So the Flex system will allow that to be way more efficient. And that's what we're looking for. Always looking at ways to streamline workflows, save time, create the efficiencies. That's what this will do for us. What I really like, especially from a command level, the capabilities to obtain our call information on a mobile device. I currently don't have that ability right now. And so this, and Jonathan talking about the cloud-based, I'll be able to pull up calls on my cell phone from anywhere I'm at and be able to access the notes and keep up to date on things, especially when I get text messages that something's occurring, I can go in and actually see the notes and follow that. So from a command level, that's very critical and really looking forward to that. better GPS capabilities, looking at the scalability of this type of platform. This is huge because we're going to be looking at needing to get new portable radios. The technology available with portable radios now and having GPS location devices in radios is huge. And so this system will seamlessly integrate with that. And so our officers, we could track our officers outside of their vehicles. And from an officer safety standpoint, that's a key piece of that. And then we already talked about the record retention. And one last piece of the key benefit, what we've experienced from a recruitment standpoint has been very unique because our current system is known from all of our surrounding agencies how cumbersome it is. And so we've had in the past lateral officers that were reluctant to come to us because of how cluttered our system was and how difficult it is to learn. There's a learning curve to it. And so that's a huge thing that we've heard time and time again, especially from our lateral officers in close by agencies. So that's a key thing for us. With that, the next slide. Ultimately, with your approval tonight, we sign a contract and we start an implementation plan and a phased rollout. This is estimated to be an 18-month process, so it's not going to happen overnight. The team's fully prepared to meet this challenge. It's going to be a long one. And so this just kind of outlines what that looks like. There's a lot of it, but a key thing that I'll bring to your attention when we get into the pricing model is a key component is our data conversion. The data conversion is so important because we don't want to start a new system with no information in it, right? We want to carry all of our current information, which we went into our last process of making it all clean data. So that data can convert now into this new system and we're off and running. So we don't have to duplicate entries. It already exists for us. We currently manage an archive system and our 10-year-old now system. So we don't want to do that again. We just want it all in the same system. And so we're excited about that aspect of it. And of course, the next slide is talking about the price model. So ultimately, there's two phases of this. One is the first year, the quoted amount of $743,190 is for the year one, which includes essentially that data conversion, which is an expensive piece of this, but must needed. And then, of course, the first year of maintenance. And then the second part is an 10-year agreement for the entire system. And ultimately, the total cost of that will be $4,677,015. So obviously, for right now, that's what we're looking at your approval tonight. We currently have for year one of this already budgeted in the current budget in the Administrative Services Department IT division budget, and looking forward to your approval tonight so we can move forward. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Are there questions from members of the council?
Yes, Mayor.
Councilmember Campbell?
Quick question. Will we still be able to buy 2 e-bikes for our citizens to help us?
We're researching that now, yes.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, Vice Mayor Moses, did you have comments?
Yeah, how much is the system that this is replacing costing us? It's a big ticket item, right?
Yeah, it is. I want to say maintenance every year on that system is around $120,000. What is it? $170,000 a year maintenance on it currently.
For the maintenance, huh?
Yeah.
And then 10 years. I mean, a lot of things go out of date, especially in technology in 10 years. Is that too long?
That's a typical technology-based contract is they always look at the 10-year cycle of things. What's kind of nice is IT working with the vendor on the contract is guaranteeing some things. Jonathan hit a key component is moving to the cloud-based system. It doesn't necessarily exist yet, but we have the hybrid model. So the things that we can move to cloud, we're going to move to. And as soon as that's within that 5-year window, it's there, we're automatically getting that. So it's just some guarantees in the contract.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You've definitely demonstrated the need for this.
Yes.
I think this will be a huge asset, free up our officers to go do the real work. And I want to thank you and your team and your continued willingness, because it's going to be a huge huge operation to switch over.
It is. There's a lot of people really anxious to get this rolling, and we're very happy to be able to go to a new platform.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes.
Councilmember Dolan?
I have a question. So we were talking about like the 10-year contract, and so, but maybe Jonathan can answer this as well. So it is, being that it's cloud-based and all that, it also, they're constantly upgrading the software and keeping it up. It's not like we're buying a software and we're using the same software for 10 years. It's ever-changing, and we're...
Yes. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to enter into a 10-year agreement, honestly, is because once we move into that cloud platform, it's a brand new platform essentially. And then from that point forward, they will then monitor and maintain all the upgrades. And as new releases come out, those will get integrated into it. So it's not like we're going to be on a new system for 5 years, move to cloud, and we're on an old system, and over time the technology ages. With this, we want to be in the system for more than 10 years. We're hoping 15 years is what we want to get out of a CAD system. Because it is a tremendous amount of work, and we do not want to go through this again. So that's kind of why we're trying to set it up like this, set it up for success, and set it up so that we can grow.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from members of the council? Councilmember Lane?
First off, I just want to say how awesome this is. Not only is this going to save the department money this way, but it's also going to free officers up quicker. So it's almost like hiring another officer, because you're going to be able to get them back out on the road that much faster, where they're not spending their time doing redundant paperwork. You know, like back in my day when I started, I had a yellow Ticonderoga #2 that everything was written with. And then you photocopied that and you use carbon paper. So this is an awesome way to move forward, and will actually save money in the long run. So
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'd love to make a motion.
You know, I actually have to open the public hearing first.
After 8 years, come on, David.
All right.
You're going to get it.
This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the council on this item?
We have to sign this thing by tomorrow? It says 11/13/24. Does we lose the discount if it's not, if you don't call in tomorrow?
They knew that it was going to council tonight.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. If we don't approve it, the council doesn't approve it tonight, then we renegotiate.
Yeah. Any additional citizens want to address the council during the public hearing? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for motion or discussion.
All right, now I'll make the
All right, Councilmember Lane.
I move to award the purchase of the Flex Suite and Command Central Cloud Hybrid and approve the customer agreement with Motorola Solutions, Inc. in an amount of $743,190 plus applicable taxes for year one of the agreement. Authorize staff to exercise the option to renew the agreement annually, and authorize the city manager to execute all agreement documentation on behalf of the city.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane, a second from Councilmember Campbell. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And happy birthday, Kelly.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you, Mr. Basket. Moving on to item 7.8 is requirements contract for advanced metering infrastructure and Beacon SaaS managed solution master agreement with Badger Meter. Mr. Foggin.
Mayor, Council, pleasure to be with you tonight. I'm actually here carrying the water for Tim Kellett, who's done a whole bunch of work on this. Had to be away today on personal issues, so I'm going to help him out. Also want to acknowledge our water superintendent, Mr. Gain, and all of his efforts to help us get to this point. This is something that we've been talking about now for over a year, and happy to actually have vetted a company and present it to you. So it's actually, this is a contract with Badger Meters. Just as background, we have over 3,100 meters in our water system. The city reads those meters once a month. Those are personally read by our team. City has an aging meter system with some meters over 20 years old. typically meters should be replaced on average every 15 years. So they're old, and we have a lot of manpower going into reading them. So in moving through the process, Kelly, happy birthday. We've been looking at upgrading the system to advanced meter infrastructure. This actually will allow us to real-time notification on unusually high water usage. That was basically a real benefit to water savings for the city side and for the customers. Customers can track water usage in real time, basically in their jammies or whenever they want. They can also watch their usage over time a lot closer. It also increases our customer service capabilities in the fact that we actually can reach out if we see a large number pop up and be able to tell a customer that there's water that has gone through the meter that's unusual. So I'm pretty excited to be able to introduce this system to our water users. Next slide. So basically the key aspects of what we're proposing to do with this contract, it gives us stabilized pricing over the life of the contract. Obviously, we're looking to standardize the equipment being used. And, obviously we want to make sure that we have good client support from our national-wide meter company, which Badger is. And so with that, I believe, funding, yes. So this has been brought up in a past council meeting. The council authorized us to use grant funds. We've received $3 million in WIFA funding to be able to start this program. And we're right now actually just today discussing writing an additional grant to do more meters into the future. So, which is a great benefit, being able to save money and also save water, huge benefit to the community and to the water department, so that we don't have to continue to raise our water rates also. So with that, I think that's it. So any questions, be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Mr. Foggin. Are there questions from members of the council for Mr. Foggin? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Yeah, please just make your way to the podium, state your name for the record.
Hi, Brett Miller again. I just had a question on the new meters and whether they will still, it sounded like there's a way for the customer to view what the usage is on the meter. Is that real time? Because I'm thinking through a situation I went through a couple of years ago where I got a really high bill, and obviously I had a leak somewhere and I was trying to trace the leak. And I used the little spinny thing on the meter to tell which part of my house was using the water, so I could kind of zero in on that. And having that troubleshooting capability still with the newer meters would be nice.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Mr. Foggin, do you want to address that?
So the answer is yes. As every 15 minutes, the meters communicate to the computer system. And so for all intents and purposes, it is real time with reads every 15 minutes.
Very nice. Yeah, thank you. Would anyone else like to address the city council during the public hearing? Seeing no, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council.
Just a curiosity question. Are they battery operated?
That's correct.
And how often do you replace the batteries?
Batteries are 25 years and they come with a warranty as well. So that's something that we'll also get an alert on internally that basically says the battery's going bad, gives us an opportunity to go out and make sure that that's replaced and they continue to run. But yeah, they're a very low usage of electricity, and so the batteries are very long life.
Will you be able to tell if the meter is failing, or if it, over time meters don't read, it goes from 100% and starts going down, right? As far as how much the efficiency of them. Will it be able to self-diagnose if we're
I would say that it's not quite that sophisticated. What we are seeing with the meters that are being proposed is that they are less likely to lose reading over time like the traditional meters are. All meters lose a little bit, but these meters are less likely to read shortage over time. But again, keeping up with replacement over, the meters that we're proposing have a warranty from Badger of 20 years. Now that's prorated, but I mean, that's pretty good warranty.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Kemp.
Yeah. Mr. Knudsen?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Foggin. We talked about like the kind of the technology with these meters and how great they are, allow us to central reads and then provide the customer with that app and that real time within 15 minutes of that information. But the path we're going down is we're not replacing every meter in town right away. And so the plan is that we're going to pursue every last grant we can. So this is a $3 million grant to replace water meters in Havasu. So I'm telling the grants team, Anthony, Bajette, keep going, keep getting those grants to the best degree we can. Now, will there be some out-of-pocket cost? There's a match associated with this one, but we want to keep that ball rolling. What that means is a slower rollout to the community in terms of getting these meters, placed and in front of every business, every household. But we're trying to do it that's the way we can in terms of being fiscally accountable. The other way to do it is I think we ran some numbers, talked to a company, $12 to $15 million was the rollout to do all of them all at once and then pay debt, for the next several years. And so that was something that we took a look at. But obviously, $3 million grant kind of changes things a little bit. But that's the goal. It's a slow rollout because we're trying to conserve our dollars.
Thank you. All right. Any additional questions or I'll entertain a motion?
Mayor, I motion.
Okay, please.
I move to award the requirements contract for what? Did you say something? No. Oh, sorry. I move to award the requirements contract for the advanced metering infrastructure and approve the Beacons SOS management solution master agreement with Badger Meter Incorporated, authorized by the city manager to execute the agreements on behalf of the city and authorize staff to exercise the option to renew the requirements contract for an additional 5 years.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Campbell, a second from Vice Mayor Moses. Is there any additional discussion? We're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Yep. Thank you. Next on the docket is 7.9. It's a professional service agreement for the Island Wastewater Treatment Plant Filter Upgrade Project with NCS Engineering. Mr. Hart?
Well, thank you, Honorable Vice Mayor and City Council. We now get into the fluid portion of our meeting, the reason why we're all here and the reason why we do what we do to take care of business. So tonight I'm going to be coming for you. My first item of business is the Island Wastewater Treatment Plant Filter Upgrade Project. This is a design award recommendation. So as most of you are familiar with, the city has 3 wastewater treatment plants. The one we're talking about tonight is the one that's on the island. The aeration or the filter system is located right there where that little yellow arrow is, right next to our beautiful, and this next picture kind of shows it, our beautiful flow equalization basin project that was recently completed. So this rectangular looking object is the filter system. It has been serving well for a long time, but has started to show age, and we're at a point now where it needs some upgrading to be done. So this project is going to be looking at the filter system, sand filter system. It's going to be addressing a variety of things, such as the grading between the basins. We're seeing some rusting and some failure. We're seeing there in that lower right some deteriorating concrete there along the deck. We're seeing there, this next slide in the upper left, that the basin rails that the equipment runs on, we're starting to see chipping and such. And then again, we're seeing a deteriorating concrete deck kind of all throughout amongst several things. So the purpose here is to provide 100% plans and specs for a construction project upgrading the existing filter system. This includes repairs to the concrete in both basins, replacing the railing, the grading, and the under drains, etc. The project schedule, we're visualizing it taking, or the contract is going to be for 6 months on this, with anticipated completion date of May of 2025. So with that, I would move to approve a professional service agreement design with NCS Engineers, who has done a decent amount of work for us lately and proven themselves worthy. We negotiated a contract price of $97,308, which we feel is a good number. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Are there any questions from members of the council for Mr. Hart on this item? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for discussion or possible motion.
Mayor, motion.
Yeah, Vice Mayor Moses.
I move to approve the professional service agreement designed with NCS Engineers for the Island Wastewater Treatment Plant Filter Upgrade Project in the amount of $97,308.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Moses, a second from Councilmember Lane. Is there any additional discussion? We're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. And then our final public hearing is item 7.10, replacement and refurbishment of horizontal collector well pumps and piping construction project to Lane Christensen Company. Mr. Hart.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. And now we get into the beautiful blue stuff. So this, tonight I'm coming for you to talk about discussion action item for replacing and the refurbishment of the horizontal collector well pumps and piping construction project to Lane Christensen Company. So just as a reminder, out on our island at our beautiful London Bridge Beach, we have this structure, which is known as our horizontal collector well or rainy well. It was, when it was first built in 2001, it was the first of its kind in the state of Arizona. And since then, it's served very well. And we are at a point now where we need to do some rehabilitation. So inside of this well system, we have 3 pumps, motors, that again have served well for nearly 20 years, and we are now looking to replace 2 of them and upgrade or rehab the 3rd one. So this project here, we went out to bid here recently. The engineer's estimate for the base bid was $701,000. We weren't sure where the numbers were going to come in, so one of the things we try to do is we have that item that we need to get done, which is a base bid, and then we have an additive alternate if there's money available that we can hopefully do the remainder as well. So our engineer assessment, as you see there, was roughly $868,000. We did receive 2 bids. Now keep in mind this is very specialized work. It's very unique. There are not a lot of companies provide these types of services, but we did get the 2 bids. Lane Christensen Company, they came in their base bid at $880,769.68. Their additive alternate one, they came in at $230,562.25. Total bid was approximately 1.1. And then XLAZ LLC, their base bid came in at 1.5 million with the additive alternate at 87,000 for a total of 1.6 million. So the project schedule there, and just to touch on that, actually in your bid package or your package, you should have seen a bid tab that tells you that add alternate 1 dealt with replacing a broken 20-inch tee with a fabricated steel 20-inch tee, and refurbishing one existing pump. So we've evaluated this, and the funds are there to do the base bid, and that's what we are recommending we move forward with. So the project schedule, should you approve, would be 150 calendar days. At this point, the anticipated completion is April of 2024, but we are in discussion with the contractor who's telling us that the bowls for the pumping might take 24 months to get. So that would push us out beyond that point, which means we would probably have to wait through the summer and then actually begin in October or November, which in one sense is frustrating, but it's the reality of having such a unique project. But to be able to secure the contract now, issue a notice to proceed for materials to get that moving would be a great stroke of business for us. This is this is the third bid, I believe, the third time we've gone out trying to make something happen on this. And we were excited to finally get this bid here. And from there, if you have any questions, I'll be more than willing to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. And then just for clarification, that's April of 2025 if everything goes well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks.
Stuck in time there. Yeah. Sorry.
Other questions from members of the council for Mr. Hart? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to address the city council on this item? We'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it back to council for any discussion or possible motion. Councilmember Lane, for your last public hearing.
Yeah, we've been working on this for a long time. I mean, we started several years ago. It started with the drilling of the new wells so we could take it offline to even start this work. So it's nice to actually see it starting to move forward a little bit on my last night. But I moved to award the bid for the replacement and refurbishment of horizontal collector well pumps and piping construction project to Lane Christensen Company in the amount of $888,769.68.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Lane and a second from Councilmember Dolan. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is item 8, to call to the public. This is an opportunity where citizens have to address the city council on items within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes. There will be a light indicator box on the screens. This is where we can't have the two-way conversation that I explained at the beginning of the meeting, but we'll listen intently to any comments or feedback you may have. You don't have to sign up, and we had no one sign up, but would anyone like to address the city council at call to the public?
I'm Kathy Molden. You know, you give me a chance at a microphone, I take it, right? I just want to thank you all for the hard work that you do for us. I haven't been able to attend in a while with coffees either, but I always come away from these meetings feeling like I learned something about my city that I love so much. So thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council call to the public? All right, we'll go ahead and close the call to the public. Item 9 is current events. Are there any council committee reports? Councilmember Lane?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yeah, I think it'd be important as I leave the council to kind of give you guys an update on the few boards that I'm still sitting on. I still have one more Go Lake Havasu meeting. I still have another PSPRS meeting. But with Go Lake Havasu, they have hired a new CEO. His name's Sean Buckley. He'll be starting on December the 2nd. So that was a nationwide search, and we're really looking forward to seeing the things that he's going to bring forward. And the new websites will be launched within the next 30 to 60 days. So watch for that. And then the other is the Parks and Recs. I attended my last Parks and Rec meeting here a couple weeks ago, and it was not as long as this one, but pretty close. We had just about every sports organization show up, from Little League to football, soccer, swimming. They all came together to talk about what their needs are as we move forward for the children of this community. it was actually quite nice to see them all working together. It wasn't, I need this and I don't care about anybody else. It was, we need this together, and we're willing to work together. So one of the things that those teams are, and the representative of those teams are going to be doing over the short term is speaking with the school district. The city's been working with the school district to try to use some of the underutilized and free spaces that they have at the school district for our sports teams to be able to practice. So they will be going to the school board to try to push that along for the short term. But then for the long term, our parks director, Gabby Vera, sitting over here, she is working on a 5 and 10 year plan on what we need to move forward. And all of the teams plan on working with her as a team and coming up with solutions on what we need for the children of this community. So I thought it was a great thing for the people to be able to do that. So with that, Mr. Mayor, that's the last council committee report I have for you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lane, and thank you for your leadership on all of the boards, committees, and commissions that you've served on over the last 8 years. We appreciate it.
Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember Campbell.
I was just at the Chamber's governance meeting, and so for the electeds up here, I believe it's going to be December 11th. Again, it's looking like it's going to be at Mud Shark Pizza, where we have the Meet the Candidates Forum. So that will be December 11th at 5:30. So if you want to just get that, not you. But if the rest of you want to get those on your calendar, that would be great. Do you know when we go to Mud Shark and all the electives, it's a legislative session where the legislators are out, from Sheriff Schuster to Jeannie Kett to us, and just tell the citizens what we're up to. And it's prior to going into a legislative session, which is in January. That's why it is the end of December, and it's usually after the election as well. So the Chamber has been doing it for a long time. Most of you, I think you've been at it a couple times. And so far it seems like they're getting confirmation, but it'll be at Mud Shark Pizza. Just put it on it's a Wednesday night. And so around 5:30, it's not totally confirmed yet, but it looks promising. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other council committee reports? All right, move on to item 10, our future meetings. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, November 26, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. It's a regular meeting, but it also will be Councilmember Lane's very last meeting, and it also will be the opportunity to swear in Vice Mayor Moses for his second term, Councilmember Campbell for her second term, and Councilmember-elect Diaz for his first term. So we'll have some ceremony and refreshments during that meeting, and then we'll conduct the actual business portion after we do that stuff on the front end. So that's again on November 26th at 5:30 p.m. And then on Tuesday, December 10th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. will be a regular meeting as well. Item 11, are there any future discussion items? Item 12, motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
We're adjourned. Be kind. We'll see you next time.
Happy birthday, Kelly.